Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 113, which is a great double episode. It is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once from 2022, written and directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, and starring, of course, Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Lee Curtis. And he was nominated for 10 Oscars this year, which is pretty incredible. And we pair that, of course, with Bullet Train. Of course, you'd think, why is Bullet Train those two things related? They are definitely related, and we get into that. And that's directed by David Leitch, and of course, starring Brad Pitt. This is interesting. We find these films to be fascinating because they are movies that are very important in 2022, and they seem to have escaped the Marvel fatigue and DC fatigue and superhero fatigue in general, and just all of the franchises, and so they've made their own thing, and I thought that was really fabulous, and we should celebrate that, which of course we do. Of course, we always tend to do older films, but these are very current films, and we thought it was pretty interesting to do that. So very excited to have those things on. Speaking of Oscar stuff, we are actually going to be doing an episode, recording an episode on our Twitch channel, so just go to twitch.tv/martini_giant for that, and it'll be this Saturday, March 11th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you'd like to watch it, we are going to be doing Annie Hall from 1977, which was nominated for 5 Oscars and won 4 of them. And this is a user suggestion. He wants to pair that with a movie called The Worst Person in the World from 2021, which is a Norwegian film. And I think this is going to be a very interesting pairing. So first of all, thank you for making that suggestion. Love to have that. He's one of our listeners who is Norwegian, and he thought it would be a good pairing, and I'd love it today. He's exposing us to some new and interesting things. If you'd like to be part of that and suggest some great films, we'd love to have you on. Just go to our Discord, and the link of the Discord is in the description of this YouTube, or of course you can just go to our webpage and find it out there. That's martinigiant.com. But yeah, we'd love to have you as a member of Martini Giant. And of course, if you are a subscriber on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/martinigiant, you get access to our subscribers only section on our Discord, where we have some inside information, and you of course get preferences on preferential treatment on any movie suggestions or watch party suggestions that you have there. But for now, please enjoy episode number 113, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and Bullet Train. Enjoy. And cheers. I am very excited about the fact that we put these two things together at the very last minute. In fact, so much at the very last minute that Daniel, I think 15 minutes ago, just finished watching Bullet Train.
I literally finished watching Bullet Train at 2:57.
Right. So he got through Bullet Train.
We got there.
Right at the end. Which means he did not Scruggs it.
Yep.
Eric, did you Scruggs anything?
Nope.
Nope. You watched all
That's
of it.
not my style, baby doll.
Wait a minute. You coined the phrase. You created Scruggs it, which is great. But anyway, we got through these two things. I am excited about the fact that we have some very interesting movies to really put a perspective on 2022 and filmmaking in that area, which is interesting. I put it on our Discord. There's an article in The Atlantic about how ridiculous the theater movie experience has been. And it was fascinating. Like, it was literally like Thanksgiving, going to the movies. What is there to watch besides a Marvel Fest?
Right.
And it was shockingly little.
Almost nothing.
Almost nothing.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it was a big turnaround because of Avatar and Top Gun. Like, things were slightly different this year, but it's like normally during Thanksgiving you'd have like, a whole selection of kids movies.
No,
all the adult dramas.
All that's on streaming.
No, it's all gone.
It's all gone.
Marvel films. That is what you get. That is what you get.
The theater experience is dead. But that does not mean that movies are dead, because clearly there is some interesting productions being made, right? And I'm very excited about talking about that. Now, there's different levels of them, but I thought that these specific ones, which are both, Asian influenced both of them.
Yep. I think that's kind of interesting.
Which I thought is fascinating and wonderful at the same time.
Right.
So we're talking today about the movies Everything Everywhere All at Once that came out early part of the year. Am I correct?
Yep.
Okay. And then the second one is Bullet Train that came out more recently. And obviously Everything Everywhere All at Once has a lot of critical acclaim. And Bullet Train, honestly, I'm just going to, it's a fun ride. I kind of liked it.
Well, I'll put my cards on the table. I really enjoyed Bullet Train. I think that's a good movie.
Too.
That's a good movie.
I had fun watching that movie.
Bullet Train is a very good middle tier Hollywood. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. This is the same way.
That's exactly what it is.
This is a fucking ride. I mean,
it is hilarious.
Yeah, it's very funny.
It's
funny.
funny.
Very stylish.
It's funny
Brad Pitt
as hell.
Is charming.
Brad
as
Pitt,
hell.
you can't. Sorry, but you can't go wrong with Brad Pitt in that situation.
Yeah, it's like I like it. I like when he plays the dumb guy, and he plays a really sweet dumb guy.
He plays the great dumb guy.
So I was like, I think
Steve
like,
Zahn.
the goofy head. Yeah,
like
Steve Zahn also plays a really great dumb guy.
see, like basically he's doing a Steve Zahn in this movie, right? And so like I will not be saying I won't be saying anything bad about Bullet Train. I will be saying these movies are on the opposite ends of production
they are definitely
scales, right?
opposite ends. Yes, which is what we will be talking about in a lot of ways. Yep.
And I don't think it's like my love of Everything Everywhere. Like I'm gonna put it to you this way. I'm going to be I think Everything Everywhere is one of the best movies of the year, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and
I think in the last 10 years. Now it's up there in the last 10 years.
I have some very mild critiques of that, which means I'm being really, really hard on it to even come up with critiques.
Sure.
And I have virtually no critiques of Bullet Train because I'm just going to get out of the way right now. It is such a bordering on lazy bit of filmmaking. Like it's so just sort of like
describe lazy filmmaking.
It's like it's such a gimme. Like it's such a gimme. Everything in it is like you're gonna love it. Like it's just kind of chill.
Okay.
They're not straining themselves too hard.
I am going
there it
to
is.
I am going
Seems
to
like a tax write-off.
I'm going to what's the term used like the term used like no here's my I'll skip to the end on my take on Bullet Train. It's like there is Bullet Train and there's Tropic Thunder.
Yeah,
they're the same movie except Tropic Thunder is significantly better.
Well, yeah, I would say like
because it is better
Train,
writing and everything else, right?
Bullet Train is like Kill Bill on Quaaludes. Like it is a very it's like they could have made this movie a lot tighter and a lot better and make a real classic of comedy. Like in fact Caesar just brought up Tarantino meets What's Up Doc. Like What's Up Doc is one of the funniest fucking movies I've ever seen in my whole life. And that's an incredibly tight version of this kind of comedy. I think Bullet Train is I don't think they worked that hard on it, but my point is that's okay.
Totally fine.
Like I'm just like, who fucking cares? This is great. This is like I don't need this to be 5-star A+ material. It's a B+, but it's a really, really enjoyable B+, and every part of it is just a blast.
Brady, come here. Did you enjoy Bullet Train?
Oh my god, yes. Okay. I gotta get in the
That's so crazy.
More than Godfather?
It's like serious.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the artwork on Sandra Bullock was horrible.
Yeah,
Absolute trash.
Yeah, it's true.
100%.
Oh, for 1 second I got it.
But I did like Bullet Train because it was like serious.
Was it serious?
Right. Well, I think it has a serious theme to it. Yeah.
Funny,
Yeah, like I think he's right. Like it landed a
also
serious
had
note on the end.
multiple stories happening at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I found that really interesting. But I loved how they had just made all these little jokes in between like big fights, like how Brad Pitt asked Tangerine to buy him a bottle of sparkling water partway through their fight when the woman came in. I thought that was pretty funny.
Right.
That was my opinion on Bullet Train. Hello, Martini Giant.
Awesome, thanks, Eric. No, like I think he's right. There's a great. The overall on Bullet Train is like, I saw the ad and I was like, maybe it'll work. I don't know. And then the movie started, and I was like, I guess it's kind of working. And then halfway through, I was like, yeah, sure, it's working. And then in the end, I was like,
having fun.
It worked.
You're having fun.
It worked. And they sort of like, I wouldn't say it's serious, but like,
no, it's not serious at all. They don't take themselves seriously when they made that movie.
But like,
it's a very expensive movie not to take yourself seriously.
This is very true.
How much did it cost?
I don't know, but a lot.
It took a long time to make. It ultimately did make money. It did pretty well, but that's because it came out. The reason why this movie ultimately did well is because it came out and sort of like underperformed, and then because there were no Marvel movies ready, it was the only thing in the theaters, and so it just kept on winning the weekend for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then they made the Netflix deal, and so they ended up being profitable. And so, like, I think that there's nothing bad to say about the movie. It's a very entertaining movie. It's the kind of thing where, like,
I'll watch it again.
I would totally watch it again.
Yeah,
If, like, this is on, I'll watch it. I feel the way I feel about, like, I don't know. It's a mad
Die Hard
world.
on a Train.
Yeah,
Mad World is perfect.
Yeah. Where I'm just like, this is really it's a little sloppy, but it's very entertaining.
Spy is a good one. Caesar put it up there.
Right. Spy's another one. Yeah, Spy's a great movie.
But to me, the thing there's a parody of that type of genre of film, which it makes fun of, and there is a little bit of that, right? Because it's got some anime vibes to it. It's got a little bit of Japan thing. It's got a little bit of the English gangster feel.
Yeah, it has
to
that Guy
right?
Ritchie-ness to
Guy
it.
Ritchie-ness to
Guy
it.
Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie. So they're mixing all this shit together, which I'm totally cool with. Like, oh, that's interesting.
And they're keeping the tone very consistent. Like, they're
right,
holding
and you
it
got a little
together,
bit of the
right?
Russian thing in there. Like they just put it all together.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, all right, I'm with you.
Oh, and like they know things. Like one of the characters is reading Shibumi. I think McMonkey Man will know this, but Shibumi is one of my favorite sort of like ridiculous spy thriller. It's like almost cartoon, but it's like spy thriller novels. And as soon as I saw that she was reading Shibumi, I was like, okay, I know what this movie is, and they know what this movie is, so we're good.
Right.
They were smart enough to tell me,
In the beginning.
it's okay, Dan. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I understand. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting to me, but at the same time, I was like, looking back at Tropic Thunder, it's like Tropic Thunder went the extreme, right? It was way like to me, that's an elevated version of that. So I almost wish Bullet Train went full Tropic Thunder, like
right. It's really because
it went full
Thunder is actually
retard.
yeah, it's like exactly to quote Tropic Thunder. But I mean, like the that Tropic Thunder, like. I think Tropic Thunder has its own level of jank to it, but it's a very daring, pushy film. Like it's like
It's got Robert Downey Jr.
It's really going to go for it. It's fucking hilarious.
But this has Brad Pitt,
right?
He's not.
But they're rolling the dice a little bit with Tropic Thunder. If it didn't work, it would have gone badly, right?
Yeah, they were on the edge.
They're on the edge, which I think is great, which is what you should be. I mean, they're
the only way it's going to be really good is if it's on
to
the
make
edge.
it really work.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, they went for sort of Sunday afternoon comfort eating a bowl of, just like, hey, I've got I have some Doritos and I'm having some noodles. Let's put on Bullet Train, and that is a perfectly. I get the same joy out of something like Bullet Train as I do out of like Hammer horror films, where I'm like, I'm not asking this to be Hamlet. I'm asking it to be Christopher Lee in shitty bloody makeup. Like that's what I want, and it delivers the goods. So when I compare this to of the many ways we can compare them, when I compare this to Everything Everywhere, like
there's still a love of film there.
Like Everything Everywhere is like that is top level. They are trying to make something truly great, insanely innovative. Like that's the hard charging cinema that I want to see all the time.
And then Bullet Train is like, let's see what we can do a bunch of things and make some money.
Yeah, we got Brad Pitt for a couple of days. So I guess by lazy, I don't mean bad. I just think
all the chase scenes were like Long Beach.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that when I say that Bullet Train is lazy, I don't mean it in a bad way. I'm just compared to Everything Everywhere, it's not exactly lifting a heavy sack of Yeah, it's like it's not really going for it. It's like we're gonna take it easy and make a fun movie.
No.
Versus Everything Everywhere not only makes a fun movie, makes a profound movie, and takes every chance it possibly can. Like, it's wild.
Absolutely. So here's the thing I want to put in there to just put it in perspective. So we actually thought about these two films. Excuse me. We were going to do Everything Everywhere because that was a movie that came up, and I was like, we're not going to pair it with anything. We're just going to do that.
Sure. Right.
And then when I thought about it, because I just watched Bullet Train, I was like, actually, let's pair it with Bullet Train, because to me, these two films are sort of an interesting, in terms of quote unquote original content that's not franchisey, whatever. These are two interesting films that sort of position us in terms of where filmmaking is today and how to do what we're doing, right? And Bullet Train is, listen, we could marvel it, but we're not going to marvel it. We're going to actually use Bullet Train as the quote unquote popular film, right?
Yeah, I wish that Hollywood made more Bullet Trains instead of Marvel movies.
Absolutely. But at the same,
with that.
yes, I agree. But at the same time, it was interesting because I talked to some people who's it's like, what do you think about Everything Everywhere? And to them, it was like, honestly, the best analogy that I got is me saying too much shit's gotta go, right? It was like, I can't deal with this.
It's overwhelming. Sure.
It's overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
So to them, it was like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I can't expect everyone to love Everything Everywhere, and I'll say, I do think that, I almost wish that those guys, those directors, the Daniels there, waited 2 more movies or so to try to do this one.
To do which one?
To do Everything Everywhere, just because,
right.
I think that they are extremely good filmmakers now. I think that they probably learned so much in making this movie that if they were to make it again, it would be even tighter. Especially the back third, there's so much going on. It gets a little crammed. It's not quite overstuffed. It doesn't get in its own way, but I had to change channels in my brain very quickly to hang on to all the emotional threads. And they pull it off.
They do that by design.
They without a doubt. They pull it off, but it's extremely
it's hard.
They barely pull it off, and I feel like
we're people that watch movies a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And so
we're professionals.
So it's just that's the kind of movie where I totally understand people seeing that and flying off. Just they fly off of it because they can't figure out what the fuck is going on. That in a way that in another 2 movies, these guys are going to be so tight at what they do.
Yeah,
it'll be next level.
They're really gifted filmmakers.
Yeah. I'm curious
but they're
about
genius.
this.
They're
I'm curious about this because I thought about it with what's his name, Looper director,
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Seacrest. Yeah, Giant S and Long.
Ryan Johnson, because he did Looper, right? And it's like Looper started off okay. And then suddenly what the fuck at the end?
Snaps, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and then it's like, and then, but then now we're on to Glass Onion, which is okay.
It's fine. I thought it was fine.
Yes. But
I wish he was looping.
Where's the next Looper?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly, dude. That dude is living the Glass Onion lifestyle right now. It's just everybody loves me. I get to have my glass of rum and chill out and make movies. Whereas when he was making Looper, he was on fire. Yeah. So it's a difficult balance. Those guys, the Daniels who directed Everything Everywhere, they also made a great movie that I loved called Swiss Army Man. And Swiss Army Man is hysterically funny. Oh, it's super good. Super good. Really charming. I want to see it.
And that's with Jake Gyllenhaal? No.
Who is it? It's Harry Potter. And
that guy.
And what's his name? The guy from the Batman plays the villain of the Batman.
Radcliffe. Thank you, guys.
And it's a much simpler movie. But you can see this is where they really tried their weird gags first. And
is this the Daniels?
It's a Daniels movie, yeah. And it's great. It's terrific. And
I didn't realize it was the same guys.
Yeah, it's really, really great. and and it's really heartfelt and very gentle. It's ridiculous, but they pull it off extremely well. And so like I feel like if I were to compare filmmakers, like if you were to say like what do you call it, Swiss Army Man is like how I felt about Jordan Peele's Get Out, and Everything Everywhere is how I felt about Us. Like Us bites off just a little bit too much that it can chew, but what it's trying to do is amazing to me. So I really actually prefer Us. It's just
for
like,
effort.
It's just like what the meaning behind Us and the incredible depth of what he's pulling off in Us is really spectacular and very next level filmmaking. But he's not quite up to his own game in it, so it gets a little bit muddy. You know, it gets a little choppy. And so I feel, and it's like it's a much better, more interesting, deeper movie than Get Out to me. But he is also not quite at the level to pull it off what he wants to do. And I guess I feel the same way with this, where I'm just like, Everything Everywhere is the kind of like unbelievable creative explosion that I want to see. And I bet this is the Raising Arizona moment for these guys. Like they're going to become the next Coen brothers.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
They 100% are.
Right. And now I can imagine the Coen brothers doing a better job now with Raising Arizona than Raising Arizona. But that said, Raising Arizona is a fucking masterpiece unto itself.
Well,
come on, H.I.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing is that compared to Raising Arizona, these guys have a good grasp of technology.
Yes.
Way further.
Well, stagecraft, because some of that practical stuff was genius.
It's incredible.
Well, no. But they figured that out as they were doing it. Like they knew, like every shot is carefully.
Yeah. It's like they're working on with almost no money at all versus Bullet Train, which is all the money.
All the money in
the world.
Just, like whatever you want to do, we got it.
Don't worry about it. It's fun.
Don't worry about it. Just shoot. Yeah. Just bring in all the celebrities, all the cameos, all of them. Which, by the way, works.
Right, exactly. And so like Bullet Train's got the Ocean's 11, thing going on where it's just like the studio's behind it. You got George Clooney. Everything's gonna be great. Don't worry about it. And then on the other hand,
they got great craft service.
They got great craft service.
I can imagine the craft service was amazing.
Yeah, and they turned out a good movie that I really enjoyed.
They did. I was entertained. Yeah. And the thing is, like a lot of people, who are like, oh, Everything Everywhere too much. Bullet Train, very digestible.
Very, very digestible. Perfectly, and no criticism.
No critique, but
no
very
criticism.
digestible.
But but Everything Everywhere is so good. Is like I said, I don't want anything I'm saying negative here to come across as actually negative, because this thing is so fresh. It blew my mind. Like I was crying my eyes out, laughing like crazy.
We complain about movie making today all the time, and then yet things like this still get made.
That's the thing.
Right?
We talk about it, and then all of a sudden,
absolutely 4 stars filmmaking. And Eric, it's just that like I can see where they're going, and I can't wait to get there. That's all.
Eric, tell us what you think. Tell us what you think.
I Bullet Train was a little, it was Guy Ritchie. It was a little bit all over the place in terms of.
But were you entertained though?
It was entertaining, yeah, and Brad Pitt's great. I love Brad Pitt, but it just was. It seemed like a great movie for a tax break or somebody who was friends with somebody, but. Definitely, but it was fun. I loved the graphics. I loved the color. But it was not. Now I haven't seen everywhere, you know what I'm talking about, until today, and that is they are really the next, as you said, the Coen brothers. It's such a beautiful film.
It's breathtaking.
And by the way, because it on rent, I had to buy it, but it's fine because it's like a little master class. It's so damn good, and just these little things with like the lensing, and it goes. They're really creative. They're really refreshing, considering it's the world of. I
do want to get into this real quick, Eric, about the fact that you had to buy it, because this situation has gotten a little freaking crazy for Martini Giant, to the point where like week to week. You don't know if you can watch a movie or not.
No, it's like things are changing hands.
It's so fast.
Weird, yeah.
Like the way that rights are changing for streaming. Like Like Everything Everywhere was very easy to watch anytime, but now
Suddenly.
because it's in the Golden Globes and the awards ceremony,
jacked up to $17.95.
now suddenly
19.
There you go.
now suddenly you can't rent it and you have to buy it. It is insane how this on demand has gotten like seriously, it's like the stock market in terms of,
and they just see it and they just turn up the volume knob. They're just like, more money from you, and then lower it back down, or they just take it away. There's like no access for you for no reason whatsoever, and now it's back.
And my main sense is I'd buy it all over. And he's right, but like for us, for Martini Giant, it was like, Eric, you got to watch this movie for the thing, and it's like, okay, I'll rent. And he just like, he's never seen it before, and he's now like forced to pay $20 to buy the movie that he's never seen. Now he would appreciate it, like, but I don't want to.
I'll just send you the invoice. But the point
that's fine. But I'm just putting it that way. It's like and this was new as of like 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah. Like, and I was like, yeah.
But yeah, Caesar says, he brings up a movie I haven't seen, but I hear it's terrific, called Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes, which is available now on Amazon, I think. I'm not sure. He can correct us on that. But he's like, he says another scrappy indie film. That is the thing with Everything Everywhere, is like, these guys had a vision of the movie they wanted to make, and they definitely didn't have the money to make that movie. So they had to figure out how to make it, right? And that it is so in love with filmmaking that it exploded the way that it did. It doesn't just have a big positive statement, which is amazing. It's the energy of the film. The energy of the film is so huge. That's why it's at the Golden Globes, right? And so what I want to point out is that Hollywood is turning out these Marvel movies and spending money on Bullet Train and all this kind of stuff, when the money that they are jacking up the price for his $18.95 for Everything Everywhere, because it's at the Golden Globes, is because of a movie that cost $2. Like, because they took a risk, went at it with energy. That's why they can get you to pay $19.95 for this movie. Like, because it's at the Golden fucking Globes. Like, this seems to solve itself. Like, Hollywood, you're looking at diminishing returns for theaters. Make some good fucking movies.
Well, it's true. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I'm trying to look at this and say there is good movie making still being made.
Sure.
And many levels, right? And I'm going to include Bullet Train in that too.
Absolutely. Because good old-fashioned Hollywood entertainment.
Good old-fashioned Hollywood entertainment. Right. And Everything Everywhere at the same time is like, there's... It's not a Truffaut film.
Yeah,
let's just put it that way, right?
It's not, like, that's a totally accessible, wide audience movie that trusts that people are going to get it.
If Brad Pitt was not in it, would you have? What would the movie have been like?
Everything Everywhere? No, Bullet Train. You mean?
Bullet Train? Yeah. Like it would be a substantially less. I mean, like, Brad Pitt is a big win for me.
It's a big win for that.
He's a real.
And it's not just because it's Brad Pitt.
No, he's really.
And not just his name. Funny. I mean, it's just like because he just has a character to him that's funny.
Well, because like Brad Pitt, this is not like, I would say that Bullet Train is not like something like North by Northwest. It is more like, what's the one with Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman? No, Ingrid Bergman and it's all in Monte Carlo. To Catch a Thief.
Catch a Thief.
Like,
yes.
To Catch a Thief is kind of a weak Hitchcock. Like, it's not a great Hitchcock, but it doesn't mean it's not fun. You're just like, it's a little bit slow. Who cares? These guys are really handsome and fucking everything's landing. Like that's good. That's old Hollywood B+ is good. That's where it should always be when we're going to. If I'm going to go see a movie, I'm going to pay $20 for a ticket. I should get this. If I'm spending $150 million on something, I should at minimum get this. It should be. I come out of there. I'm like, yeah, that was really good. $20, and now let's go get some dinner. Like, that was a good time. Instead of like, I go see, Black Widow, and I'm like, I want my $20 back, and I want vengeance. like this is like, why would you put me through, or Jurassic Park, like whatever the last one was that we watched. Like, I'm just like, why? Like, that's an utterly faithless experience. Like the people that made this movie must think I'm the worst kind of moron. Like, that it's this bloated and this over-explained and this loaded with just junk because they think I can't keep my eye on the ball. Whereas, like, Bullet Train, it pays me the respect of being snappy, funny, and it knows that I'm sort of half paying attention, but it's fine. It's tight, and it's a well done picture. Like, that is the level that Hollywood should operate as a standard, and we've forgotten how to do that.
We did. It's actually going to be hard to go through the plots of these films,
Especially Everything Everywhere.
Everything Everywhere is like, what the fuck is going on? But we will attempt to do that in some to some level. But I do want to go through it. But really, what I want to do, honestly, the way I want to tackle these films is sort of in together in some ways, so that we can say, hey, here's
let's do a podcast on it.
No, but but more like how do we talk about how they tackle the issues of, creating a movie and creating the story and et cetera, et cetera. Because I think there's a lot of things that went on, and Bullet Train took advantage. I mean, Bullet Train is actually interesting. Bullet Train is a high budget film done during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And Everything Everywhere is a low budget film done during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that the pandemicness of these films is an interesting perspective in terms of like, how do you make a movie during that time?
Yeah.
Right?
These limitations are pretty
because
extreme. How could you
they're very strict. And I think that like Bullet Train thought about those limitations. Like, let's just put this whole fucking thing on a train. Right. And just most of it is just LED walls back in the background.
That's exactly
right. And that worked, right? Like, how do we
the
make
original
a movie?
Script was a Western,
right? Or whatever it was.
And
yeah,
Alec
exactly.
Baldwin was scheduled to be the armorer. Which
I
is
believe
the
that may be
irony
true.
of that.
Yes, it's actually
God.
It's a sad truth. Oh, God.
What are your thoughts on that? Like it's interesting.
He didn't press the. He's not responsible, and it's really shocking that.
I think that
the whole point of hiring someone to be responsible for that, to take the liability, and now he's liable.
Like, I think, like, I know somebody who knows the DP who was killed, and
really?
And it's sad. It's just a giant tragedy. It's just like, this is the kind of things that happen on sets when people aren't careful with things that are just commonly done, and they get careless about them. And so, like, I think it's reasonable for Baldwin to, like, he's produced the thing. He hired the cheap ass Yeoh that didn't, the armor that didn't do it right. Like, there's a little bit of everyone. Like, if you just looked at it as sort of like, we just got to get to the bottom of why this happened. Yeah, like, it was, they shouldn't have cheaped out. They should have gotten a better guy. But that doesn't mean that Alec Baldwin is culpable.
But there's also the whole thing that the day
faces
before,
up to 18 months in jail.
Yeah, I mean, I think what is good is that people should. I mean, like, we have the ability to do this without using explosives.
Who was the guy that says, "Let Eric talk"? Where is he?
No, that's what he's coming in. Just 1 second.
Eric,
Go for it.
Go ahead, talk.
No, don't worry about me. I'm just decor. No, but the thing is, from what I read, is that they had a problem with paying people and so forth, and the details. So the crew actually walked on a Wednesday. So everybody walked because of union rules and the hours they were putting in. So they got substitutes.
Right.
And they got a substitute armorer.
Right. Yeah.
And that was Thursday was the accident.
Yeah. That's just like, it was a shaky bit of production. It shouldn't happen that way. And this is the kind of accident that happens out of doing that. Like, that's just what happened. Like, no one has to be mad, like, think Alec Baldwin is evil. Like, Alec Baldwin, he fucked it up. He didn't run the movie very well as a producer. This is the kind of situation you create when you have a shaky production, and it's dangerous. And people just forget that it's dangerous because we do these stunts all the time, but it happens like this, And so, as Caesar brings up, like, we really don't need to do this anymore. Like, even on cheap productions, like, you don't need to have live rounds almost at all. Like if you're going to have them,
There is something to be said about the way that a gun.
oh, without a doubt.
reacts.
But the
In your
thing
hand,
is, like
just
if
goes off.
right, the thing is, I mean, like it is actually very difficult to make it look real. But we're talking about like a low budget Alec Baldwin Western, not
Yeah.
a Michael Mann movie. And if you're going to have live rounds, you should be spending the money to make sure that the safety, the treatment of safety is really, really real.
But they were fucking drunk and shooting cans the previous
No,
night.
but everybody left.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
the
Like
thing.
this is a sloppy bad bit of production that they like everyone like that people are like may go to jail for it is not
the
a fucking
low
surprise.
budgetness is exactly why there was a live round in there.
That's
is what I'm trying to-
that's
yeah.
well the thing,
No,
this is what,
but
like
the thing is,
Go ahead, Eric.
they left. The armorer left. So I'm curious, really, who left the bullet? Because there was one bullet in the gun, and because the people left because of union issues.
yeah.
Oh, so it was a Trump supporter.
No, but
Well, like
I'm kidding. I know what you mean, Eric. Yeah.
what I'm saying is that I don't understand how a live bullet can get on set. The fact that I'm not saying it's a union issue or the unions did it. I'm just saying somebody possibly, maybe there's a 10%, there was somebody disgruntled and they put a live round in. I don't understand how a live round could get onto a set. And the fact that they switched armorers that day, from what I read,
right.
So it's a brand new person coming in, and it happened the next day or something like that. So it's
Well, if there's anything like actually illegal going on, that's specific to this thing. Like, we don't know. I can't say anything about that. Like, if there's a crime that happened, like an actual crime, then that's a very specific incident to this thing. If we're going to talk people talking broadly about whether or not we should use weapons on set, like we should.
I diverted, but
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
don't
just
think so. I hate guns.
yeah.
So
The thing is, like
anti-gun.
on a low budget shoot, you should not be using live rounds. Like, but unfortunately, as you said, Chris, it's reversed. Like there's like you can just fucking do the stuff with After Effects, and it's going to be fine. And your movie's probably going to be, straight to video anyway. So let's not risk people's, lives by using things we don't have to use. And if we do want to spend the money, we really should spend the fucking money. Michael Mann doesn't. Like, Michael Mann has a whole shitload of real professionals that are very, very expensive to make sure that when they use live rounds, it's safe. And that's expensive. That's why it should be expensive. But like this crew didn't do that. And I can see why they're liable, but I don't think that people taking it to the moral fairgrounds of like, let's roast Alec Baldwin for
I think that's
being
horrible.
I think that's terrible. Like, this is just an accident, and it's bad decisions were made, but he's not a bad person.
And he's a great artist, and he's a human being and sensitive. Like the fact that he
made fun of Trump a lot.
Okay, but hold on a second. The fact that
I'm just putting it. That's the reason why it's so big in the news right now.
And she was a mother. I mean, and a beautiful person. That's like, you know what? That's heavy in his heart. I mean, I'm telling you.
He killed somebody.
It's his own prison,
incredibly
dude.
sad.
So he's already serving time, as far as I'm concerned.
Like, there's no reason to, like, this is it.
Chris probably wouldn't feel guilty.
Wow.
Alec Baldwin would.
Yes,
that's all I'm
that's true.
saying.
Alec
It's not a
Baldwin's
cheap
gonna be
shot, Chris. I'm just saying.
It's just the truth, and it's an intervention.
It's just look, it's not a negative.
But, like, that's the thing, is that what I think is really gross is that people are using this as a political football, to using Alec Baldwin as sort of like as a weapon, and his probable suffering as a weapon to make political points against each other, which means you're using the accidental death of someone as a cheap way to make Twitter points, and I think that's kind of low. So don't do that.
That's
100%.
Like, this is an accident. That's all it is. Like, it's preventable. And it's reasonable that it ends up in court and manslaughter and all those other stuff, but it is an accident. Nobody did this on purpose.
No. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so his problems aren't over. I mean, they're kind of just starting, I guess, now, right?
Yeah, no, it's a mess. And the thing is, I don't have anything.
Just quickly, so technically, you guys were hitting something, and it just dawned on me, like, that's basically wherever the court case is, that's kind of Trump territory.
I don't really know.
No, it's in New Mexico, which is actually very democratic.
Okay.
But yeah,
Point
like
is, you can get a unfair.
Well,
jury.
I don't know that. I mean, that's where it was. The movie was shot. I don't know where it is, but
like I don't care about all of Alec Baldwin. I don't know the guy. There's nothing I can say about it. Like I just like if he goes to prison, he goes to prison, and my life changes not at all. You know.
Well, that's
like,
kind of cold. I mean,
well, it's
okay,
no,
he
well,
is
it's honest.
part of our industry.
No, I mean, like I can talk about it in a general sense about I don't want these kinds of things to happen to people. I can't defend Alec Baldwin being a good or bad person because I don't know him, right? So I don't have any quite honestly, if he goes to jail, it's just a fact that appears in my mind. I don't know him, so I don't feel good or bad about it. I just I know I'm a cruel person, but I've never met the guy at all, and he would not feel bad if I were hit by a car. So I think it's a fair trade, you know. So as a fact, this is what happens to this guy. That's what happens to that guy. I don't know the guy. I hope
I'd actually be curious. I would love to talk to Donna about this and see what she thinks about it, because she would have some serious thoughts about what the fuck happened.
Yeah, I mean, she knows this kind of scene very well, and she knows the people involved very well.
What if we find out she was the armorer? It's like, no.
You never know.
Yeah.
Don't bring it up, Chris. Oh, sorry.
She told me some stories like I had to do XXX. I'm like, holy crap. It's like,
Triple X?
Yeah, no, well,
I know
no.
she's talking about Chris, but yeah, like but that's this is the thing is that like I think it's good to talk about this stuff in terms of the industry and best practices, right? And that's a useful thing to do. I think that Alec Baldwin is a human being and deserves respect because he's a human. And so don't be cruel towards someone even if you don't know them.
Well,
I think that's rare.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. You know?
But
cruelty does work sometimes. So let's just say,
like if somebody knows
cruel.
Alec Baldwin and it's just like that fucking guy deserves this kind of shit, then they know him and they can have those feelings about him. That's fine. But nobody else on Twitter does.
But the thing is, you wouldn't want to wish this upon your enemies.
I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. That's what I would never wish. Just because I'm saying I don't care about him doesn't mean I wish him ill. He's a person and he deserves respect as a person. Like I'm just saying, I'm not going to pretend as if I'm emotionally affected by what happens to Alec Baldwin's life when I've never met the man. I don't know him, you know? So like, if I knew him, I would feel differently. If I knew he was a good person or a bad person, I would have personal feelings about that. But realistically, nobody on Twitter knows Alec Baldwin and they're all treating him like a villain. Well, guys, you don't know him. Like, stop acting like that. That's silly.
Thank you. And McMonkey Man appreciated the fact that I changed our background and he gets it. He's like, get on with the hot dog fingers. Right. So we are going to be talking about a few other things, but I did want to take a little bit listen, hey, McMonkey Man, you've been listening to this podcast for a while. You know, we go on tangents and you're just going to have to deal with them. And those tangents can go.
And you've known me for many, many years. 45
minutes or longer. So, yes. I'm sure Baldwin feels terrible. Yes, I'm sure he does too. Okay,
I assume so.
So let's get on. Let's get on with Everything Everywhere, because I think that is a film that is very interesting and fun to talk about. So this film, when did it come out? Actually, anyone have a date on that?
Like Everything date? Everywhere.
Yeah,
I think this is probably March last year.
This year, yeah.
Somewhere
March 2022.
Yeah,
right?
I think that might be right. Somewhere around there.
Okay. I don't like, it's hard to describe this because it starts off as a complete mishmash of Chinese American. Like it is Chinese and American and English all at the same time.
Yep, switching back and forth really quickly.
The conversations that they have amongst themselves as a family is both in Chinese and in English, happening simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So you have to read the subtitles when they're speaking in Chinese, if you're an American person, and then go back and forth when they're like, just listen to, and a little bit like Spanglish, right? But with Chinese, and very interesting. And they are almost stereotypical Chinese family that owns a laundromat, right? Almost cliche, right? In the United States, because a lot of laundromats are by cliche owned by Asian people in the United States. And and run by Asian people. And so the woman who is running this is
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh, fantastic actress.
She's
incredible.
Michelle
Yeoh has been one of my all-time favorites for many decades.
Yeah, and you may remember her from Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, Crouching Tiger.
Crouching Tiger as well, but she was also in Crazy Rich Asians. More recently, she played the rich mother in Crazy Rich Asians.
Yep.
And it was fantastic in that. She's just great.
She's Malaysian too.
Is she Malaysian?
I didn't know that. Yeah, she's terrific. She's absolutely terrific. And she is most famous early on for doing all of her own stunt work. And doing martial arts films. And she has done some of the craziest shit you will ever see. It's just insane.
I didn't realize that she was a big martial arts person too.
Yeah, so like if you go back and you look at, let's see if I can load this up. Here we go. Okay, so you go back to the 80s here.
Back to the 80s.
Yeah, you're going to see her in all sorts of stuff. Heroic Trio. We got Super Cop 2. We have Wing Chun, The Stunt Woman, all this kind of stuff. And like she does stuff like rides a motorcycle off of a bridge onto a speeding train herself.
That's cool.
Like she's absolutely fucking insane. Yes, absolutely incredible.
Which movie is that?
So she's a Jackie Chang
Story too. Yeah.
The Jackie Chang
School of Daredevil.
Yeah, she's absolutely phenomenal. Like has Chinese opera schooling, all that kind of stuff. And she wasn't really recognized as a great actor until, at least in the States, until Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Right.
And that was the transformative moment for her. But even up until very, relatively recently, it was strangely Quentin Tarantino was the one who's she credits as saving her career. Yeah,
he's the one who's discovered all these great Asian actors and directors.
He's the reason he started Rolling Thunder Pictures, and that's why we know Wong Kar-wai.
Wong Kar-wai, right?
Yeah. I have the box set he put out of Wong Kar-wai stuff.
Right. Yeah, and so he actually, when he heard that, because Michelle Yeoh was going through like a massive career lull, and she she's told the story on the Circuit for Everything Everywhere, is that she was going to quit acting. She had told her friends, like, listen, I'm quitting acting. I can't keep up with this anymore. I don't get the roles I used to, et cetera, et cetera. And Tarantino flew to go see her personally to convince her to stay in the game.
How incredible is he?
And I was just like, that's fucking amazing. That's great.
That is amazing. He's an amazing...
You also know how I have my problems with Tarantino, but in situations like that...
Yeah, he's a good-hearted guy. Like, he cares about this.
Well, he's an ambassador.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just put it that way. He's a good ambassador to the system that makes it work for the art. Right. For the art of filmmaking, he's a good ambassador, and I will definitely give him that credit.
To tap onto my Alec Ball, like, I also don't know Quentin Tarantino and don't care if he's hit by a bus. However, I really appreciate when people professionally support each other and continue, like, help them continue to do what they love. I think that's a very positive thing to do. So, like, whether or not you like Tarantino, I could care less. But like whether like that is the way to act professionally with artists you care about when you know them. I think that's a really good thing to have done.
Well, it was interesting. I was just watching a YouTube of Alec Guinness in 1977 doing a BBC interview about how he got involved with Star Wars, and it was very interesting.
He was just kind of like,
hated Star Wars. Yeah, he does.
Well, he said specifically, was like, I was very interested in whatever George Lucas's next film was because of American Graffiti.
Yeah, right.
So he's like, oh, he's the
a really
next
great director.
He's going to be one of the big new filmmakers. Right. And then I got this script and I was very excited. And I was like, oh shit, it's
what is this
fucking
stuff?
It's well, he actually kind of like, he didn't quite say, it was like, oh, it's a sci-fi film. This is Right. And then I started reading it. It's like the dialogue is terrible.
Yeah. Right.
But the problem was I kept turning the page because I was interested in finding out what happened next.
Yep, there it is.
And that's that was interesting. Is like, but I kept turning the page.
That's the
and I
only
figured
thing,
if I
man.
keep turning the page, people are going to want to watch this movie. That's what he said. Is like it's like the dial is like I told George Lucas, like, I'll do it if we can change some of the dialogue because this is terrible, which they never did. Obviously, the dialogue in Star Wars is not great. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty clunky.
But the narrative,
good storytelling.
But
Good storytelling.
the narrative is like it's solid. You know. Anyway,
But yeah, that did in fact like he resented being identified as Obi-Wan Kenobi for the rest of his life.
for years and years and years. Yes.
Did he really?
Oh god,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. He's like, I was in fucking The Lady Killers, you assholes.
Yeah, well, it's like, I was fucking Macbeth, and I was like, I'm one of the most famous.
Bridge of the River Kwai.
Bridge of the River Kwai. It's like,
Star Wars?
Next Star. Oh my god, it's Obi-Wan.
It's Obi-Wan.
Great.
Fuck you. Okay. All right. So anyway, so this is an Asian family. Let's put it, a dysfunctional Asian family living in the United States that owns a laundromat that is dealing with financial trouble to try to manage their lives inside the United States, specifically tax trouble that they're managing. The dysfunction is as follows. The characters involved are very important. One is obviously her. She is the main character. She's the one that's basically running everything and dealing with trying to create balance in the family. Her husband is a goofy, seemingly useless character.
Yeah. He's just sort of like a wishy-washy guy who's
He's wallpaper.
He's wallpaper. He is in their marriage. Like you can tell that, like the love is still there, but it's like there's too much business in the way, and he's not
paying.
There's no passion in their lives.
There's no passion in their lives,
Right.
and he also has. They do a great job of illustrating him as someone with a high-pitched voice.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's like, whatever. Like, I got to deal with the shit. I got a customer here. I got to do this.
She's trying to get the fucking.
She's trying to do like a million things at once.
Yeah.
She's trying
Plus
to like
issues
do
with
the
her daughter.
Right.
plus issues with her daughter, which we're going to get to in a second. But she's trying to like do the laundry, do the taxes, do dinner,
Deal with her dad. Deal with
her
like,
dad. Deal with her
generational
like,
issues. I mean, she's just like
many
overwhelmed.
Right.
Yeah.
Many generational things. And then you also find out that her daughter is struggling young woman, 20s-ish,
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
right? So college age-ish, kind of,
Mhm.
right? Also gay, right? Not perfect body,
Right.
right?
Good. Right.
I'm just
Yeah.
dealing with all these issues, which are important part of the narrative. I'm not just trying to put that. Meaning, she's like, she doesn't have a thin body, right? She's got a girlfriend that loves her, but the
like
family can't quite balance that out.
especially like Michelle.
He doesn't
like
have
she
time to figure
she
it
has a problem with her mom because her mom is like her mom's not homophobic, but is very worried that her dad is homophobic, the
Gong Gong
grandfather,
or whatever.
and that we
Who's
can't.
played by the same guy who does Big Trouble in Little China.
Who has been playing the old guy
He's been in
since
more
1979?
He's been in more films than any other actor.
I think
Over
that's true.
600.
Yeah, James. Yes, it's
Hong.
yes, yeah, James Hong. That's right. And so like James Hong,
He was in Blade Runner.
he's in Blade Runner. He's playing
You know what
literally
he
playing
is?
old guys when he was
Grass.
a young man.
He's in Chinatown.
Yeah, that's right. He's the
Grass.
Glass?
yeah, the same guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he's been doing this for a long time. But so like Michelle Yeoh.
It's funny that like you guys all mentioned like Chinatown and all these Blade Runner, and I mentioned Big Trouble in Little China. Like that's my
That's
my
the
go-
touchstone,
but
yeah.
but he was
Blade
a main
Runner,
he was a main character in Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, a bunch of classics. This guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like he's been playing the old dude for a million years.
And he's
like,
good in this.
He's great.
Really good in
and
this.
because he's like 90 something now, and so
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh is very very worried that he will not understand that her daughter is gay. Like, so she's trying
Because
to
he's
hide this
old
because he's old school Chinese.
Right.
This isn't gonna fly. So this to the daughter is like, how come you can't stand up for me? You know, like you're always trying to cover this up as if it's not happening, and like the stress in every direction for everyone is extremely high. And the way that it, like, what's really brilliant is that from the get-go, it in terms of where the movie is going to go, it sets up a highly chaotic world where language is changing, there's confrontations between multiple generations, there's business problems, there's interacting with just American life problems.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see like the perspective of Asian Americans interacting with Americans.
Yeah.
That's the most foreign part.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like
Exactly.
suddenly this film was great for me to feel empathetic towards Asian Americans dealing with Western people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, not like her with the guy who's comes by all the time is like, you got great perfume. My wife used to wear it. Right. And then the woman with the dog, right? The woman with the dog who's hilarious. She's a fabulous comedian, right? And then obviously, Jamie Lee Curtis was like,
oh yeah. Well, so like the brilliance of this is like
the
this
best
is how
was you see these awards, you don't get. I love the awards; those are so funny.
Like this movie is so good, and Jamie Lee Curtis is so good. I did not know Jamie Lee Curtis was in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis shows up in the movie, and I didn't realize it was her.
Brad Pitt
for about 10 minutes. I was just like,
God.
Wait a minute, was that?
I
was totally shocked.
She is
amazing.
So good.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. But yeah, so the business is having massive tax problems. They have to go deal with an IRS agent played by Jamie Lee Curtis. And it looks like the business is going to fall apart. The family is going to fall apart. Everything is a mess.
Right. And Jamie Lee Curtis, so they go to the IRS. They go to the IRS office, right? And they all go together. The old man, the daughter does not go. Right. So it's the old man, the husband, and the wife. The old man doesn't speak any English, right? Mm-hmm. And he's in a wheelchair, right? The wife speaks English, always makes mistakes about like understanding things, like her interpretation of English is hilarious, and they play it off really in a very funny way. And then the husband is he's this
poor milquetoast schlub.
Yes.
I don't know if I would say like he's a dreamer. Like,
he's a defeated dreamer. Let's put it that way. He's defeated.
Well, he's
a defeated dreamer.
He's a defeated dreamer, and his alternate character is what he's probably
That's who he is on the inside. And so this is played by Ke Kwang, who's before this was mostly known for playing Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh my God.
That's right.
And so he was a terrific actor when he was young. He was very charming when he was young.
Indie.
Yeah, and he has had absolutely no major work outside of the Goonies between then and now. And for him to hit it so big is so amazing, and you see him like he's getting all these awards for this movie now, and you're just like, oh my God, this guy!
It's just like
fall
what's
in
his
love
name?
with him.
Brandon Fraser at the same time.
Fraser, exactly, same thing. These guys that have just been like in the wilderness, and suddenly we're remembering how great they are. It's really powerful. It's really great.
Yeah, it's kind of sad too,
Well,
right?
it's too bad that they were like forgotten about for so long. But it's great to see that people bring them back into great film. It's pretty great.
Yeah. It's great. So basically, what we see is she is basically being read the riot act by Jamie Lee Curtis, who is an IRS agent, who is going through this mound of receipts on her desk and just kind of like reading her the riot act in this very dry way. Like, and I have to say, they completely changed the Jamie Lee Curtis image, right?
Yeah.
She is the most unsexy,
dumpy, bad hair.
Like she probably, she's not that chunky, right?
Oh yeah.
But they probably put her in a bunch of hunched over. She put padding to give her a pot belly. Her breasts are all
I honestly did not
weird.
recognize her in the slightest. I mean, like she's like Jamie Lee Curtis has been sexy her whole life. And,
she's still sexy.
she's still sexy. And so like for me to like make this transition in my mind to be like, wait a second, is that Jamie Lee Curtis? I was like, oh my God, that's like the craziest makeup I've ever seen.
And I would think like if you're Jamie Lee Curtis, that is going to be one of the most entertaining acting roles to do, right? Like just
she's having a blast with it. It's so good.
She took it all in, and it was just fabulous. And then Eric at this point where she's like, they're like trying to negotiate with her, and she's like, listen, you can't pull any wool over my eyes. You see these awards? And Eric was pointing at, and there's like, see these awards behind her, and they're just these little awards on these little stands, but they're pretty much look like butt plugs.
Yeah, it's just like sex toys. Yeah. It's amazing.
It's like these butt plugs on awards, and they have like dates on them on these little plaques. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Those look like butt plugs. And it's like, you see these? You don't give those to just anyone.
Yeah.
They're like, ugh. And they're black too, which makes it even weirder.
Yeah, it's spectacular. The whole shtick is great. And it continues this sort of level of chaos that the movie's constantly introducing. Because like they can't even get like all these receipts together and all this stuff. And like there's so much like quick editing mayhem and all. You can barely tell what's happening.
I should note that, like, sorry, I know we need to go through a little bit of plot here, but I'm going to tell you this, like, this plot is so all over the place that it's going to be hard to try to do it linearly. So we may jump over a couple of different things.
Right.
But,
and like, for instance, Caesar points out she's also trying to write off all her failed hobbies, which is why she's getting audited. Yes. Very important.
Yes, which I'm going to get to in a second. But before she even got to the desk, we should note that she's on the elevator ride up to see Jamie Lee Curtis, at which point her husband does this little like reset thing, talks to her in a completely different way.
Yeah. Suddenly with a lot of confidence.
Like, I don't have much time. I have to tell you what's going on. Blah, 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 blah. You have a choice. When you get out of the elevator, you can go left or right. And there's a janitor's closet. And she's looking at him like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
Right? Because he's completely like, la, 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 you know, and then suddenly like, no, you got to do this and that. And then like, what the hell's going on? And he's also got these like super cheap Bluetooth headsets from like the early 2000s.
The effects are great. The little light on their head.
So funny.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And he's like, wear this, do that, do this. And they're like, and it's super cheap. And it's like, you just put these things in your head and then do something. And it looks super cheap, but it totally works in this film. It really works. And she doesn't know, like, what the hell are you talking about? At which point, then her husband comes back to being himself, going, what's going on? She's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and just moves on. At which point, we go back to the scene where I was talking about with Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, there's a couple things that are mentioned. One is Caesar said, yes. She says, you can't write off a karaoke machine as a business expense for your laundromat.
Which is true.
Right? Which is absolutely true. And then her husband says, my wife confuses hobbies for business. Mm-hmm. And puts in like she has tried to do a bunch of things in her life and they have all failed, right? Like singing and cooking and la, 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 right? And so all those things have come up and her husband's like, she's just like, it was an honest mistake. And then Jamie Lee Curtis is like,
nope.
And then what's really interesting is like, as she takes that receipt, which is a very important part of the thing going forward, and
draws this
black, very clear circle over and over and over again, and say this receipt, and it makes this big black circle around the number of the karaoke machine.
Right. What is owed
in terms of that. And so this becomes this black circle becomes very important as we move forward. So as that happens, as she's going through this audit, through this situation, her husband, the one that was in the elevator, gave her a piece of paper that tells her some instructions on it, which she's like, what the hell happened in the elevator? And she's reading these instructions, and they're very strange. Like, step 1, take your shoes off and reverse your feet.
Go
Right. Put the left foot in the right shoe and the right foot in the left shoe. And then try to imagine this, and then try to do this. And this, and so suddenly she's like, goes through it step by step as Jamie Lee Curtis is reading her the riot act. And suddenly her chair is just like sucked into the janitor's closet.
You see this in the ad a lot where she's like going backwards like this.
Going backwards really quickly.
Yeah,
right. And then they do this great trick. By the way, these are all like very cheap tricks to do in
all
camera.
Editorial, all After Effects.
All editorial After Effects, a lot, and very effective. And then the lens cracks, and it creates this fan of cracking in the lens like this. And then half of the lens on one side is her at the desk with Jamie Lee Curtis. The other half is her in the janitor's closet.
Right. Different universes.
And so she is basically this is a metaverse movie.
Done right.
Done right. Exactly. Because there's been a lot of metaverse movies out there. And this is one that's like split universes. And this one is done right. And so she is in the closet, or the janitor's closet, talking to someone who seems to be her husband, who is giving her instructions while at the same time being read her tax stuff from the other side. But she's technically in the same building, right?
Yeah.
But in different universes.
Yep.
And then as this lecture is happening one time, suddenly she's being attacked from the other side by also Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who is giving praise to, what's the name of that person? The
Juju, the villain.
Yes, what's her name?
I'll look it up for you right now.
Juju Baku, which she can't even say for like half the movie because she doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it is, just to be sure, so I don't get it wildly wrong. It is, oh my gosh, it doesn't even say. Hang on, let's go to the
Wikipedia, right?
Let's Wikipedia this. I should know not to go to IMDb. It's always useless. Okay. It is. Good God. Yeah, the Alp. This, even just looking at the Wikipedia thing, it's like, holy shit, this movie's crazy. Yeah, Jobu.
Jobu something.
Yeah.
Jobu something.
So Jobu is the villain of the movie.
Right. And so in the cracked universe that she entered, she goes outside and it's freaking, crazy town with Jamie Lee Curtis acting completely crazy with a tattoo of a black circle on her head, right, and going like, praise Jobu, whatever, right? And then on the other side, it's like, you have till 6 p.m. today to finish your taxes. I'm just going to give you one last thing. And it's like, from Monsters Inc. It's like, don't forget to do your time card, right?
Exactly, right.
Like, and it's like, what the hell's going on, right? And so it was kind of a little bit insane. Actually, McMonkey Man said, trivia, the VFX for this film were all done by 9 people, including the 2 directors, which are 100% correct. I believe all of that.
Yep.
Because you look at this and it was the most creative thing.
Yep.
When you have to figure it out, you figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you have the money to
that was the beautiful
do it a
thing
million
about it.
times.
Really exciting.
Because
you could tell that some of the optical and the stuff over their face, just the lines where she was being scanned.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't like we do it a face scan. And we do
No, it was just a laser treatment. It was easy.
like this, you compare it like to bring in Bullet Train.
they did it live action.
Like Bullet Train,
like a little projector.
That's what I meant. It was like you just did like a little laser thing.
So to compare the visual effects of this and Bullet Train. Now this had a budget of
Bullet Train had a lot of effects.
what was the what is the budget of Everything Everywhere? What was the actual full budget?
I don't know. Someone look it up on our chat. Help us out, Monkey Man. You've been very good so far.
So it's a $14 million budget.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, $14 million bucks, and Bullet Train is
150.
Probably. Let's see, Bullet Train
10
budget
times
is it's lower, 90 million. So
okay, all right.
Reasonable. Now Bullet Train looks like a regular, like it looks pretty good for 90 million because it actually looks better than a lot of Marvel movies. But okay, it actually doesn't. Like I would give it a lot of critique. I'm giving Bullet Train a pass because of comedy and anime influence. Yes. Okay. So like the ending of Bullet Train looks about as bad, and I'm sorry for anyone who worked on this thing. I'm like, this is just the situation I know you're in. But the ending of Bullet Train looks about like the ending of what was the bad Wolverine movie where they fight, where he fights
all of them?
No, there's a great Wolverine movie called Logan, but they're the bad one, where he ends up fighting Deadpool when Deadpool had no mouth. The ending and special effects in that are some of the worst of all time. Like, it's horrible. And it's nearly at that level for the end of Bullet Train. That said, the rest of Bullet Train looks okay. It looks serviceable. But for 90 million bucks, for 14 million bucks, these effects look terrific. Like, Everything Everywhere has better visual effects, period. Like, I'm not even
done in fucking After Effects.
Yeah, like this is the difference between having to get a farm of 400 people to slave away doing nonsense cleanup versus two guys and seven of their friends who are so devoted and in love with the movie that they've made that they're going to make it beautiful. These guys are artists and they're going to make it work. And they make it work and it looks incredible. These are better visual effects. Like, that's just how it works.
Rakakuni.
Love that.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, just trying to figure out how we're going to get through Everything Everywhere because it really gets complicated. And so we're going to have to skip through a bunch of parts. But what we pretty much figure out is after she goes through this clash and her world comes back together, she's back at the tax thing with, in her quote unquote, the normal world. And her husband comes back and says, we got to take care of things. And then suddenly he does these weird things that are like completely confuses people because the security is coming up to deal with them for certain issues of being hostile or whatever. And he starts to eat chapstick and do these weird things to make things happen, which reminds me, by the way, a little bit of some of the premises of the project that you've been working on, Dan.
This is true. I have been working on a long-term project that ended up being very similar to this movie in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But I am very, very pleased that they did such a brilliant job with this thing.
Yeah, they did. So he does all these
current thing.
He's been doing it for like 10 years, man.
Yeah, it's been a while, but that's okay. They did a great job, so I ain't complaining. I'm glad someone did it right. It's okay.
But anyway,
I don't know anything about this.
It's going to be good. The first episode is almost done, and we'll show it to you soon. And everyone's going to say,
okay, I thought it was out already.
Everyone's going to watch and go like, oh, I guess you really liked Everything Everywhere. And I'm like, yes, I did.
I did.
It is very
But
true.
I've been working on this for 10 years, way before this movie has come out.
It's all right. It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah, that's just the way things are.
Yep.
But anyway, he ends up like eating chapstick and doing this thing. And everyone's confused about what the fuck's going on. And suddenly he turns his fanny pack into a weapon and beats out a bunch of these security guards over at the IRS station and gets this crazy thing happening, right? At which point you're totally confused as to what's going on. But here, I'm going to try to skip forward a little bit because it's a little bit harder to explain. Here's what's going on. There is basically a multiverse situation. Her husband, right? The one who comes in, who eats the chapstick, who's explaining everything to her in a very concise, as fast way possible, comes from the Alpha verse.
Right, the alternate timeline.
Alternate timeline, right?
In which their daughter, spoiler alert, in which their daughter has become the villain of the universe.
Yeah,
right.
That hallway shot with the ketchup was...
Right. And it's incredible. And so the timeline itself, like all realities everywhere, Everything Everywhere All at Once is endangered because of what her daughter is doing.
Right.
And it has to be corrected. It has to be stopped.
Right. Exactly. So her husband is like, I've met many Evelyns. Her name is Evelyn, by the way. I've met many Evelyns around the world, and you seem to have like I met thousands of Evelyns, right? And you seem to have things that are special, right? Or maybe you don't, right? And so it's a little bit of Obi-Wan Kenobi in that sense, right?
Right.
Right. And so she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she doesn't buy any of this, right?
Right.
But he tempts her into like doing this thing where basically you have to jump into different universes or different personalities by doing some random thing that would not make sense, like eating chapstick.
Right. Do the
whatever.
weirdest thing you can to shift into a different
do this weird
alternate
thing and then
universe.
press this and do this, and then suddenly, boom, you are transported
Your consciousness goes to the
into this splinter. And there's a map that they use to sort of showcase how the universes splinter based on decisions you make, right?
Right.
So the whole point is also like, I made a decision A or B, and the minute you have to make the decision, one of you goes in one direction and the other person goes in a different direction and splinters into a different universe.
And as Caesar rightly points out, the reason why she has the power is because she is the worst version of herself.
She's the worst version.
And
she's the one who's failed at everything.
She's failed at every single choice. And so
they set that up in the beginning.
Exactly. So she can only go up from here.
Right.
Things can only get better.
But that aspect was very inspirational.
It's brilliant. It's truly brilliant. Yeah. Really brilliant. And so like as the film goes on, you have glimpses of all the other Evelyns that she is.
Right.
And so you see all these other lives that are radically different situations. And all of them are like, she's like, sometimes she's happier and sometimes she's, more successful, but she's
mostly more successful.
She's always much more successful. But all of them do actually lack something that she has, like there's an essence to her, like, I don't know how to say it, but like there's a truth to her as a personality that they don't have, that they're all missing something. And so she is bringing that to that moment every time she shows up. So every version of herself is getting better from getting connected to other prior versions of herself. Like she is unifying herself as a personality and as a force because she is connecting between her various selves, which is a symbolic thing to say. And it's also essentially what is being asked of the daughter in the end of the movie.
Well,
it's a really brilliant setup.
They do, just at the beginning of the movie, when she has a confrontation with her daughter and her daughter's girlfriend, et cetera. And specifically, they introduce, the daughter is trying to speak Chinese and her Chinese is not very good to her grandfather.
Right.
And her grandfather's like, your Chinese gets worse every day. Right. He complains about it. It was very funny. And then he's like, this is so-and-so. And he's like, and she's like, how do I say girlfriend? How do I say girlfriend? Right. And the mother drops is like, a very good friend.
Yeah.
And the daughter is like, what the fuck? Can't you just tell, whatever it is. Right. And she gets very upset. So there's this confrontation. She runs out in the parking lot, right? And they get into her Volvo and she's like, ugh, depressed. And the mother's like, I have to talk to you. And it's like, what? And the mother, instead of saying, I'm sorry, I didn't say the right thing, she goes, you should eat better. You're getting fat.
It's so good. It's so good.
Right?
It's so good.
And the daughter just looks at her like, fuck you.
off. Yeah.
Right? And it's just like, but at the same time, you could almost sense I hate to say this, it's stereotypical, but like the Chinese thing is like expecting more out of their kids, like putting pressure on their kids, right? About like, you should be a doctor, you should be the best volleyball player, you should be a chess player, you should be the best at piano.
The moment where she should have said something with compassion towards her daughter,
right?
she lectures her.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, what's genius about the movie overall, right, is that it doesn't levies that criticism essentially at everyone, in the in the audience. Like,
Right.
we are, like, the core problem of the movie is not only that we don't believe in ourselves, but we don't trust other people to be good. Like, we believe the worst in other people because that serves our own self-hatred. Right. And that is the thing that makes things worse. Like, instead of saying this person act like, because she's whatever, like because it's my dad, maybe I should have faith in him having a good heart. I will instead assume that he doesn't, because I have so many problems, and it serves my story to say that he won't understand, right? And everyone in the movie is doing this with everybody, right. And when the movie is asking for everyone to be both compassionate and giving towards everyone else, and intergenerationally,
including the daughter towards her mother.
Exactly. Like, in every direction, it's saying practice empathy and you will live a better life, because you're going to end up trusting people in ways they deserve to be trusted and sharing feelings that you should be sharing with them. But you can see how fractured everything is when people don't do that. And that's the stuff we feel most in touch with in the movie. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're just like, oh yes, this is like, I know what this fucking feels like, because I've put myself, I do have these same self-hatred problems, and I do have these assumptions that other people are bad. And the movie utterly turns that around. Like, just trust in other people, then you'll trust in yourself.
Yeah. But because we're dealing with this weird sci-fi multiverse situation, and by the way, the tools to jump between all these things are done in the cheapest
way. It's the jankiest, silliest possible way.
It's a bunch of fucking Christmas lights, and silly things. Totally works.
Yeah. In fact, it reinforces the point of the movie.
Yeah, it does.
Because the movie's just like, fall in love with it. It's so much fun, and you believe in it. And you're like, yes, I do believe in it.
But I think there's something else about it, technically speaking, that works. Is like, it's really well shot.
Oh, yeah. Very well planned.
Right.
Boarding is great. Everything's great.
So even if you have a cheap effect, it works because it's well shot and well lit.
Yeah.
And it's not hard.
But the choreography
to shoot something well and do it like it's not expensive to shoot something well.
Do a good job.
But it's choreographed really well. The shots are
like the storyboarding is fantastic. The editing is fantastic. And the thing is, everyone is doing an A-level game, right? Is that their A game? And because of that, it creates an energy that makes you want to believe in Christmas lights. Like, the fact that it's Christmas lights reinforces your belief in what's happening. Like, the jankiness makes sense, and that's what makes it work. The movie is asking you to have faith in your own feelings that you're having about the movie, and you provide the belief that these things are real, which is the way movies always should work.
Right. Through this process, as we're going through this, she actually experiences, like you said, many versions of herself, and in some case is like completely like enamored, like wants to like, well, why would I want to be me when I can be the very famous movie star, martial artist that she was, actually, which is funny, or the opera singer, or the this, or the that,
which I'm sure was very poignant for Michelle Yeoh, just because that's how her career has been. Before she hit it big with this movie, she had like 10 years of
was it really
nothing.
that long?
Yeah, at least I mean, it's like, and like she's like, I mean, Crouching Tiger is a while back, and it's been like no one really like until it was Crazy Rich Asians, right, and
Crazy
stuff like
Rich
this.
Asians, yeah.
She was out in the wilderness, just like Brendan Fraser, and everybody else, and like she knows what it's like to have all these different lives where she's super successful and winning Academy Awards, lives where she's barely getting any roles at all and having to be in whatever crappy TV, like I'm sure that she felt plugged into the variety that she's experiencing as a character and the massive ups and downs for your ego when your career is just all over the place.
Yeah. So she's experiencing all this, and then what she discovers along the way is that this villain is Jobu, is someone specifically that her character from the Alphaverse, her person from her Alphaverse, let's put it back. Her person from the Alphaverse had discovered this portal situation and then pushed this other person to go as far, really, really far, until that person became so powerful that they can encompass everything everywhere all at once.
Right.
Let's just put it that way, right? So, and this person is crazy town and basically on a rampage of destruction, right? So like Hades, chaos, whatever you want to talk about, basically like it doesn't matter.
Right. She wants to destroy meaning in everything.
Right.
Like she wants to destroy the meaning of everything because having meaning at all means that she can feel pain.
Right.
And so everything must be meaningless.
Right.
And so she's trying to which I think is amazing in this film, right? Because this movie has been described as a sort of postmodern film, right? And like I actually have big arguments with postmodernism because the foundation of postmodernism is the idea that meaning is only meaningful to you as opposed to sharing common meaning with others, right? And postmodernism can be there's great postmodern art, there's great postmodern architecture, all this kind of stuff, but the actual sort of psychological idea or the theory of postmodernism is that you cannot know other people or what they feel, and so there is no crossover with anyone else
unless you have that experience.
And it's only your experience that makes any difference. And I fundamentally disagree with this, right? I think that this is wrong. And this movie does it correctly. It's like this movie, like all great deconstructionist films, is breaking all this stuff apart so that it verges on feeling meaningless because everything is so fucking crazy you can't lock onto anything, which is how Jobu feels, right? You can't find meaning in everything because everything is changing so fast and you can't get any relative emotions. But then it brings it all together to say, we share these emotions because we are very much alike. And as shattered as everything seems, we are actually unified. And which is anti-postmodernist. And so
Sure.
the movie makes this makes it seem like everything is going to be a meaningless, crazy mashup, when actually it's saying it's clearing everything out of the way so you can see how we commonly feel together. And it's very, very powerful.
Her daughter playing that role, the meaning behind all of that was like, she fought her daughter in the hallway.
Yeah, right.
All of that was because of her daughter's issues.
Yeah, exactly.
And not her issues, Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, well, it's like Caesar just pointed out, it's a movie about the doom-scrolling decade. Like when you think everything is falling apart, it adds to everything falling apart. When you all you have is the perception of everything is meaningless constantly or everything is horrible constantly, then to protect yourself, you will assume the idea that things must be meaningless, and that's what destroys you. And
Did you
goes against that? Did
you watch White Lotus, Daniel?
I have not seen that yet. No, I hear it's great. Yeah, I hear the show is amazing.
So I'm not spoiling anything by saying this, but I think it is fascinating. It's the second season, towards the end of the second season. And again, I'm not spoiling anything. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But Portia, who by the way is the same actress from Columbus, which
She's great. Yep,
she's fabulous.
Yep.
And
that's right.
Yeah.
If recommend everybody watch our Columbus episode.
Watch our Columbus episode. It's really good
film.
But she's there. It takes place in Sicily, and she's with this sort of lower class English Cockney guy that she's been with, and he asks her a question, and then basically she says, "Do you have any regrets?" It's like, yeah, it's like the world is terrible now. Look at all the horrible things that are happening. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Would you rather live in the Middle Ages or
exactly.
that? It's like, and he's like, this is the best time ever.
For everybody on the face of the earth.
He's the biggest criminal, and he's saying that.
Right.
Yeah, I understand that. Let's not spoil that. Yeah. But like, just saying, it's like, this is the best time ever.
Yes.
And it's like, and the fact that she couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Because she's sitting there doom scrolling is the point I'm trying to make.
Yes.
And it's like, this is the worst. Like, oh my God, I can't think of anything worse that's happening. It's like, if you can't find joy in your life today, then you're fucking losing it.
Yeah.
You've lost everything.
Yeah.
And the way that he puts it in that movie or in the show is like, oh shit, that's brilliant. And it's like, I don't do social media. It's like, you're right. Exactly.
Right.
Right.
Well, because I mean, this is the thing is that I think that I think the internet and so like there are social media that are quite good. But yeah, they're quite positive. But the prominent ones are extraordinarily negative, and that's what their business model is.
Are you on it as much as you were, say, 2 months ago?
I try to be more selective about it. Obviously, I'm on Twitter for Martini Giant and stuff like that. But I really try to be, I spend more time on Tumblr than I spend on Facebook, that kind of stuff. And I think that there's you can create a bubble for yourself, not just regular political bubbles and everything else that happens, but you can create a bubble for yourself in which you believe the world is burning down if you're not careful. And when you get into that state of mind, you want to believe it's burning down, so it burns down faster and you stop suffering.
Right.
Well, it's easy to think that way.
Yeah.
Caesar said that our Discord's okay. And he's
Discord,
right.
Especially our Discord.
Our Discord is very positive.
Yes,
and we tend to have great conversation there. So please enjoy our Discord.
Right.
Don't forget to check us out on Discord. Because yes, we do have some great conversation, including people like Caesar and McMonkey Man, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. So there is a confrontation that happens in this janky hallway in the IRS building, which involve security guards and Jojo Boo or whatever.
Jojo, yep, right.
That was the best scene.
And it is just insane.
It's insanity. There's kung fu fights. It's hard to describe what's in this movie.
It's so funny and smart.
It's so funny.
Really
the effects are brilliant and probably done for like $12.
Yeah.
Right. And so many crazy things are happening. And
it's impossible to describe the level of ingenuity and innovation in this movie. It's 100 movies worth of innovation.
Yes.
It's just out of control. And I think that's it's changing between so many realities so fast at some points that some of them just become utterly ridiculous. Like you barely hang on,
It's just very clever editing and just a bunch of they just stuffed a bunch of confetti in some guy's mouth and that
was beautiful.
And it's just like so easy.
And then his head explodes. That was such a beautiful shot.
That explodes into confetti and it's completely believable. It's just editing. It's so easy.
Yeah, like the very point of the movie, right, is when she is talking with her daughter over multiple universes.
Oh
right?
God.
And the conversation goes to just everything is changing and changing and changing and changing. And
just wardrobe changes.
Yeah, it's just insanity. And it's the point I was describing. It's like things may be changing radically all over the place, but the conversation, the emotions are linear. Like the importance of what is being said is true in all universes.
Yes.
Right. And so and one of the things, like the highlight of the movie for me, and this is a big spoiler because it's such a great punchline. So if you haven't seen this movie, don't listen to what I'm about to say. Tune back in 10 seconds. The highlight of this movie for me is when they become rocks. Like when they change into rocks.
Which is what Caesar just said. And by the way, Monkey Man says, I'm just posting this for Chris and I'll do it every 3 comments. Jobu Tupaki. But I'm gonna keep saying it wrong because she said it wrong every time yes. in the movie, which was the whole point, is that like it took her like
like this, like when they change into rocks, like I have to be careful about saying because I'll start to cry. Like
they're just rocks.
Trying to describe how much they love each other
as rocks.
They're
two rocks. I'm just
and makes you cry.
So there's so many things that are happening. There's changing universes. They're confronting each other in different ways, and then it's just a shot of a cliff, like the Grand Canyon cliff, almost right, looking down, and then 2 rocks.
Yep.
And
text. You don't even hear them talking.
You don't hear them talking.
Yeah.
And it's just 2 rocks. It's like, what do we do now? It's like, don't worry about it. Just be a rock.
It's like. It's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a decade.
It's a really
and they're just talking to each other through text
everything
messages.
that we've talked about with filmmaking, where it should be,
it's just brilliant.
This is it. This is absolutely it. Like it's absolutely overwhelming how much this movie, like it stays so true to its point of like trust in one another and trust that you love each other, and because it's showing you a movie and trusting that you're going to get it.
By the way, I just want to put out,
you're going to be there for it.
The journey you went through with them, through all these crazy things that happened, and then all you see is a shot of 2 rocks on the edge of a cliff talking to each other through subtitles. You said you almost cried. I almost cried. Just now you almost cried.
Openly wept in the theater. I was laughing at how much I was crying.
Right.
It was insane.
And then you almost cried just now thinking about it. I'm crying it. Monkey Man and Caesar said, I cried. Right? Yeah. You're looking at 2 fucking rocks.
Yeah.
And you're crying.
Yeah.
Because you are so emotional about 2 inanimate objects talking to each other.
Right. Like that's what I mean by saying, like, it doesn't matter what the universe is.
Does that make me a bad person that I didn't cry?
Yes.
Obviously. I mean, you're way more of a man than I am. I'm just saying. Obviously. Yeah. But like it's like
no, I didn't cry.
But like that's the like
you're
the
not the pussy that Daniel is.
That's all I'm saying.
No, that's not it.
We can all agree on that. That's okay.
I cried when Jeff Beck died and David Bowie died.
Yeah, this is it. Like, but the emotional through line is the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters is the truth of what is being said. Right. That's that. And that the movie makes itself out of that statement. The movie is the statement. The media is the message. Like that is exactly what it is.
His name?
Marshall McLuhan.
Yeah, but they also made what was his name? He lived down in the Village. He made a song about it. I'll look it up. This revolution will be televised.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
What was
the revolution will be this revolution will be live. Yeah. Like that's why would I forget his name?
Yeah, he lived not far from where he died years ago, but he was
Revolution will not be televised.
God, he used to play the Blue Note down the street from me, and
yeah, that is good Gil Scott Heron.
Gil St. Heron.
Yeah. So which is
Gil Scott Heron.
Gil Scott Heron, one of the greatest songs of all time, is The Revolution. Televised.
Listen to that, folks.
Yeah, I'm going to put that link in the chat for people that have not heard this, because it's amazing. Thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, like that's the deal, dude. It's like whatever movie you're making, whatever statement you're making with your movie, make sure the movie is that statement. Like, make that the movie.
Make sure that your movie is that statement.
Yeah, like that's your only responsibility. And so, like, in terms of the emotional statement, what it's saying about intergenerational feelings, what it's saying about identity within America, what it's saying about treating each other well, what it's saying about finding peace in your own life as it's very, very chaotic. Because like the fact is, like for Michelle Yeoh, like she's had massive ups and downs in her career, just like I have had massive ups and downs. Like everyone's had massive ups and downs. But say many social media make you want to present a completely fluid, very fabricated positive experience to show outwardly, and when inside you're feeling fucking crazy.
Oh
right?
God, tell me about it. Right? I just hate this fake persona that people do. There was a hilarious episode. There was a hilarious episode of Portlandia where he meets this girl and they decide to go on this impromptu trip to Italy, and they show their pictures on Facebook and they're like, this looked really, and then you see what actually happened. And it's like really like a horrible trip, but they only posted the best parts. And it's like, that sounds like you had a great time. It's like,
exactly. But if you are present for all of it, then it is a great time, even when it's ups and downs, and like that's what the movie is saying. And then ultimately what I was going to say is that the movie itself is a statement about the joy of filmmaking.
Yes, that is. You know what? You said it, but I really felt that way. Like there's a love of filmmaking, like Tarantino infused into it, and the creative choices. I was like, man, these guys just love filmmaking, and it's exciting.
They just love it.
That was this kind of thing in my thought, particularly in the hallway scene, because it was so clever, and she was so funny and sexy, and just the way with the ketchup, joking around. I was like, that's great filmmaking, and only people who love films could make a sequence like that.
Yeah, because they're giving us that fucking love. That's what they give us that joy.
But they're also in a sense, they're actually commenting, or she specifically. Sorry, I'm going to go scroll back up, Monkey Man. Her name is Jobu Tapaki. Jobu Tapaki is making. I feel that in that statement, she's actually making a statement about visual effects.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's like, oh, look how cheap I can do it. Like with fucking ketchup.
Yeah.
Right? She's like, it's organic. And she made this joke, is like, it's organic. Because there's a bunch of blood. Like, just put it, she gets stabbed, right? And like, oh shit. And then she pulls out like, oh, I'm so hurt. And she pulls out a bottle of ketchup.
Yep.
And she goes, it's organic, meaning that it's not real blood. I don't give a shit.
It works.
It works. And they're like, wait, what?
This is the pure joy of it. Like this is the the movie uses uses the love of what they're doing to make a thing that represents love. Right. And it's impossible not to be affected by that, I think. Right. Like I think anybody who gives this movie a chance is going to be hooked by it in some way. And like again, to be like, I think that like they tried to do so much stuff that towards the end there's so many things going on, there's almost no way to organize it so it maintains the incredible momentum they have for the first 2/3.
Absolutely. Right. So to try to tell this story linearly is going to be really hard. But here's my attempt, what I'm going to try to do, to try to introduce the different characters that are involved. Because what happens as she goes through these different multiverses, she introduces different versions of herself that come into fruition, right? And you don't really know in which universe she is, which is great. But all of those characters, the whole point of jumping into these different metaverses is to learn something. A little bit Matrixy, right? It's like, now I know Kung Fu, now I know how to sing, now I know this, now I know that, because I've learned from these different characters, right? Of myself, different personas. All right.
Wait a minute. Wasn't there, besides Christmas Carol, going back in your life, wasn't there a movie where, well, first of all, Groundhog Day, but wasn't there a movie in the 70s? Was it Heaven Can Wait, where he goes back?
Love it.
Yeah.
Heaven Can Wait's the one where he wakes up as the football player.
And the writer, yes, and
Buck Henry.
Buck Henry, the writer from SNL. Yeah,
that's a great film. Anyone that gets a chance to see, I think that's on HBO right now, actually. Warren Beatty, and Buck Henry, and
Grodin?
Charles Grodin. Yeah, and it's terrific. James Mason, terrific movie. But yes, James Mason. Yeah, like it's like it has that same kind of like it's both ridiculous and incredibly touching.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really, really something. It's really something to see that stuff.
So the here are the different personas that appear in her life, and you learn through them through the thing. So I'm going to go through each of those a little bit because they're scattered throughout the whole thing, and you sort of get a glimpse of them in different ways. But there's her martial arts character that shows up, which is basically her origin story is that she gets beat up in the backyard and she gets taken in by some martial art a sensei who teaches her how to be a kung fu expert, which then leads her into a big film role, and she becomes a famous actress from this her role, which is very much tied to, as we just explained, the actual actress's origin story, right?
Right.
And what's interesting in that situation is that her split happens after she originally met her then husband, right? But she then left her husband to pursue martial arts, and then her husband went to America on his own without her, which is in her universe, she and her husband went to America together and started a laundromat business, right? But in this situation, she split and then became this famous actress, and then her husband did something else. Now, what's interesting is when they came back together, because they meet again, her husband is rich and successful, meaning that separated from her, he succeeded and became very successful. They're still in love with each other after they met many, many, many years later. But separated from each other, they're able to succeed. She's succeeding as a actress and film and martial artist, and he succeeded as a businessman.
Yep.
Which is fascinating. And their dialogue is very dramatic and beautiful. It's like
a Wong Kar-wai.
It's like a Wong Kar-wai or a French film, right? It's like totally different, right?
Totally.
And what's interesting,
it was Wong Kar-wai.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about it is like literally you're watching this very dramatic thing happening in the story itself, and then in the middle of the movie, and then it starts playing the credits like it's the end of the movie, and like, wait, what? And then it pulls back, and you realize you're in a theater, and in that theater, you're watching the movie that she is playing as an actress.
Yes.
And everyone's like, oh, what a beautiful movie. It's like strange ending, but like beautiful movie, right? Because you're like, wait, what? That's how it ends? Like, you're questioning that whole situation, but like they're literally playing the credits to the movie, and it's just brilliant idea of like making the movie that you're watching be part of the experience that you're
It's
doing.
amazing they got this made. But
it's incredible.
It's incredible.
It's so not what Hollywood is churning out. It's so
no, it's not. Because it costs $14 million. It's a fucking easy gamble.
Block this.
And that's, if you can do something for $14 million, man, you can do they'll let you do a bunch of shit.
Yep. No, it's
Jobu Tabaki.
Like that's the thing, right? It's like
Thank
Hollywood,
you, Monkey Man.
like I was saying before, like Hollywood is, panicking about movie theaters because, like, the reason why Hollywood is panicking about movie theaters is because Hollywood has created an untenable situation for movie theaters. Like, they fucked themselves. That's what happened. And so they are totally confused about how do we fix this giant problem that we created? And then you have something like Everything Everywhere All at Once, $14 million, giant fucking hit. And it's such a giant hit that you can jack up the price again come award season. It's so super huge.
Eric had to buy it for $19.99.
$19, right? And they're still wondering what to do about the movie theater problem.
Do you know? Did you read that article that Spielberg wants to do a streamer?
His own streamer?
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, he was saying, well, I should have done Lincoln or something, but
that's right.
where I'm going to go in next is streaming.
Well, and I think that Tarantino is going to directing for TV as well, for streaming as well.
All right, we'll get to that. It's a big conversation. We have to get through a lot, and I have to make sure that I'm on time to pick up my daughter from high school. Anyway, back to the movie.
I can't believe she's in high school. Sometimes I hear stuff. I was like, their kids are getting older. My daughter's 14.
I know. I'm going through college choices with Lily and SATs and shit like that, man. It's
wild.
It's
wild.
You know, she's driving. Monkey Man, you keep adding different names in there. Go Bugatti. Go Bugatti would be a good one. Go Bugatti.
Go Bugatti is from Kill Bill. She is the one who swings.
Roman Polanski.
Roman Polanski. There we go.
All right.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Just remember that.
Okay. So that's one of the stories, is specifically her that. And then there's the other story where she's a famous opera singer. That's a sort of a smaller story that happened. There's one that's very strange that comes up every now and then. Very brief, but she's a sign flipper in Hollywood.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one.
Which is, by the way, struck a chord for me because I acted in a movie for our mutual friend Carl Denham directed, in which I played a sign waver called The Waver. And it's a feature-length film. Wow. So I saw that and it was like, oh my God. Sign waving. Oh, it's still near and dear to my heart.
Yep.
But yeah, we got that. We have what? We of course have what is it? Ratatouille. No. Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Okay, so this is funny. So this is a much bigger. Like I thought it was a joke. Ratatouille. Right? Which, by the way, is hilarious in itself. So she mentions this thing about, like, she tries to explain to people in her universe that there are people that come into their bodies and act for them from different universes. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like that movie with the raccoon in the hat that tells the chef what to do. It's like, raccoon? What?
What are you talking about?
It's like Ratatouille. And she keeps saying Ratatouille. And they're like, do you mean ratatouille? It's like, no, it's a rat. It's like, no, it's a raccoon. And she keeps going through this, which is funny in its sense that it's about a raccoon. And that story goes a long way in this, to the point there is literally a raccoon on some guy's head that tells him how to cook, right?
Okay.
But what's funny about it is I'm wondering is like, okay, they probably said ratatouille, but they couldn't get obviously the rights to do anything with that. So they made it a raccoon and called it Ratatouille. Just to get through that. Genius filmmaking. But they acknowledged that
it's just a different universe version of the same story.
Well, no, that is one thing too. But they also played it off as like, oh, she's just a weird Chinese woman who couldn't pronounce it right and called it Ratatouille as opposed to Ratatouille. Because her daughter's like, you mean Ratatouille? It's like, no, it's a raccoon. Right. And then so it's really funny. But yes, there is a character. She basically plays a chef over at like Benihana. One of her personas, and she's kind of pretty good, but not that good. But then there's this other chef that's really fucking good. Yeah. And it turns out that he's got this raccoon tail coming out of the back of his chef's hat because he actually has a raccoon that's teaching him how to be a chef.
It's the greatest. So yeah, like this movie's fucking bananas.
It's bananas.
And of course, like the classic thing you can see in the background is there's the universe, which is exactly the same, but everyone has hot dogs for fingers.
Yes.
You know, and in that universe, she falls in love with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh,
this beautiful love story happens.
Well, what's funny about it is that she doesn't. What's sad about it, I'll put it that way, is that she is suddenly thrust upon the situation where she is with Jamie Lee Curtis, who she hates in her own universe.
Yes. Yep.
And
they end up together.
And Jamie Lee Curtis is like, what's wrong? Because Jamie Lee Curtis is so in love with her because they are lovers, right? And she doesn't understand what's going on. First of all, she's got hot dogs for fingers and doesn't know what the fuck to do with them, right? And so it is a complete confrontation of what's going on in terms of her. It's like, I got hot dogs for fingers and this is a person I hate.
love the person I hate.
Right.
That's right. That's it.
And then it takes her a couple of times before they realize that, oh no, she and I love each other and we are together and we're happy.
Right.
And it's
which is
amazing.
The storyline, but really it's actually quite an emotional storyline. It's really great. It's a short thread, but it's very powerful, and it connects her and us to the daughter and her relationship. Like it's a direct echo of that. And also it's another statement. It's another repackaging of the statement of the movie, which is essentially, not to quote other famous characters, but love thine enemy. Like it's love the person instead of hating this person, love them. Like stop fighting with this truth. This is a person that you can love. They're not an enemy.
In fact, they actually do it at the beginning of the movie. One of the things that she is supposed to do in order to jump to a different universe is to specifically look at Jamie Lee Curtis and say, I love you, and mean it.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And she's like, what? And she's like, Jamie Lee Curtis is about to attack her and kill her, and she's supposed to say, I love you.
Yes. Which is the movie. That is the movie in a nutshell. She can't
do it because this person is attacking her and wants to kill her.
Yes. That is the truth the movie is trying to alert you to.
Right.
That is the whole thing as a statement. That's the film.
Right. Like, and there's a thing where like they do this, they're attacking each other, and then instead of like kicking, she opens her arms for a hug. It's amazing. Yes. There is so much stuff going on in this. It's hard to digest. I can't even explain.
The pizza that just came out of Michelle Yeoh's mouth. Oh. We have an actual prop on Martini Chat. Look at this right there.
But there is basically like they go after her, and there's a bunch of people that are going after her. This is another funny thing where they all have to find their platforms to jump into different characters. And one of them does involve the guy trying to jump onto the award and using it as a butt plug, which is so funny.
Too good.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically what ends up happening through this situation is that all of those lessons start to come together for her in the end, which is what a movie should do.
Right.
But they don't go full cheesy on it. They actually do say some authentic things, right? So Jamie Lee Curtis, for example, goes after them, but still ends up like not caring. Like she ends up basically letting things slide. And then she and the two of them end up hanging outside vaping together, which was a weird scene and a wonderful scene of the two of them. Like, because Jamie Lee Curtis looks at it as like, we're two unloved women, strong, unloved women. No one appreciates us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a wonderful thing to say in that way, right? And then the most important thing, obviously, is what this movie really is about in a lot of ways. If I'm going to put a log line on it, it's about her and her daughter reconnecting, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so she does confront her father and said, this is her girlfriend. They're together, right?
And how's the father react?
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Girlfriend, you say.
Okay. All of the tension that Michelle Yeoh was feeling was in her mind.
In her mind. Right.
Right. And so this is the thing. It's like, you're absolutely right. The main tension of the movie is between the mother and the daughter, and we know they're mother and daughter. We know that they love each other. right?
It's that hallway scene.
Yeah,
Because if she was going to kill her, she would have just killed her, but she's playing around with the ketchup. I thought that was the best scene in the movie.
Well,
for
that
me.
was the thing, right? I mean, that's the thing is like her alpha husband, right? Says you have to kill her. And it's like, you're going to try to do this whole thing without killing her. It's like, that's impossible. It's like, somehow I think maybe, and it's like, I guess, because the whole point is like, if you kill her, we're fine. Right. But she doesn't want to kill her. She wants to solve it with her. And it's like, because I can't kill my daughter. Right.
Yep.
And so that is an interesting.
This movie preaches 100% unvarnished pure love as the answer to everything.
Right.
That is the answer to pain is love. That's it. That's what the movie is saying with every frame. And like as filmmakers and as movie watchers and movie lovers, like the stress and pain of watching, movies that don't care about you, like Jurassic Park, you see a movie like this and you go like, oh yeah, that's right. This can just be a channel for pure love and enthusiasm. Like, it's just love. It's just, they love it. They're delivering
reality to this, the filmmaking that is so much nicer than just the like synthesized world of like a lot of stuff. Even like Bullet Train,
Of course.
it was really refreshing.
Yeah, not to criticize Bullet Train, but like Bullet Train, I don't think about the effects in Bullet Train because
I'm not just talking about effects. I'm just saying
whatever
overall worlds that we're so used to are these kind of
artificial.
Marvel, and all of a sudden you have something that's it was organic and it was refreshing,
and also
real.
as it's real in spite of its very in your face artificiality. Like, it's using the artificiality as realness.
Yeah, but it's clever, and
that's what I'm saying. That we're saying the same thing, right? Like, because like the Rakakuni puppet is a puppet.
Janky.
That's like
It's
breaking
jank
the
as
fourth
hell.
wall in a way.
And
some ways.
it 100% works because like what I'm in love with.
Oh, you're laughing your ass off when you see it.
Like it makes room for everything. It makes room for the love of everything. It makes everything okay. Yep. And that's the incredible power of that movie. And so like, I think, like I said, I think these guys are going to become yet better filmmakers than this.
I think Chris, you said it earlier that they're the next Coens.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
But
they are
I'm not that clever.
We know that. I was just trying to be nice to you, but
the reason why they're going to get as good as they will get is because that's how much they love what they do. Like they're just
there's a love and appreciation of film like you see it's seeped in Coen films, and it's the same thing,
100%.
Yeah.
Clever.
I said that about Looper too.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see. I'm not saying anything that he does is bad. I think Glass Onion is fine.
Glass Onion's good. It's okay. Not for me. If you're gonna watch,
but he's making a lot of money, right?
It's great. Like, pardon me for cheering. Yeah, like Glass Onion is a good movie. I like it better than Knives Out. It's a good movie. But like I felt love in The Menu. Like the menu.
Watch that.
The Menu. I won't give anything away. But there's a moment in The Menu when I'm like, this is not as cynical a movie as it appears, and it actually has love behind it.
It's so funny. I thought you were going to say, I don't want to give anything away. I'm not going to say the name of the movie. I just don't want to give anything away, but it was the best movie I saw this year. Okay, what? No. I don't want to give it away.
I don't want to say.
I don't want to give it away. I don't want to ruin it. Well, what's the movie? No, look, guys.
The Menu.
No, I'm just joking. Like, he doesn't give the name of the film.
Let me ask you about The Menu, because I've been wanting to watch The Menu, but I didn't know, like, how can family or not family?
I think it's like it's got some intense stuff in it. I don't imagine that there's anything that's over the top. Like,
because Alton Brown talked about how he loved that movie.
It's an incredible movie. It's a very small movie. It's not like it's it's not like Everything Everywhere. It's a very small, simple point that it's trying to make. It has a lot of very sly fun with its premise. But what made the movie work is that behind the cleverness, there's an actual statement. Like, the movie has a thing it wants to say, and it uses the whole movie to say it. It's a great example of that.
Yeah.
And it's also very, very funny. And very quotable. So I think it's made by the guy who made Succession. So if you like
Okay.
Succession,
No.
yeah, it's the
I
same
love Succession.
same kind of slyness that Succession has.
It's funny. Brady,
That's totally- yeah.
Brady and I were watching Rocky because he was very interested in watching Rocky because he learned how to play the theme song to Rocky on his guitar.
Excellent.
And so I was excited about it, and I love Rocky. I love Rocky.
Does
right?
he like Jeff Beck at all?
Who?
He doesn't. Your son plays the
He doesn't know who Jeff Beck is.
Oh.
No.
He lost Dave Crosby today too.
Well,
He doesn't know who that is either. Yeah,
Well, you could teach him.
but yeah,
I
Rocky's
could, but that's not my priority.
Rocky is a very simple, powerful movie with a singular statement.
Yes,
you
with
know?
a great script too.
Yep, great script.
It's a fantastic character building. Like it is the pinnacle of like beautiful character building, right? Paulie, your sister's with me.
So good, so good.
There's a cuff and link, and the rest are pebbles.
The turtles, the best.
And just him giving the lecture to the girl about being a slut with those guys. Like, you're going to hang out with those guys. You know, like, oh my God, so good.
Yeah, and actually, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is something that people would not appreciate at all today. Is when he first kisses Talia Shire.
Oh God, yeah.
Which is a really uncomfortable, borderline, like
Taxi driver.
it's
Brady was uncomfortable when he saw that. But
And my point is that you should be uncomfortable. This is an uncomfortable scene. This is about two broken people. You know,
but at the same time, he's trying to be as nice as possible, but still like really wants to kiss her.
There's a real love in the scene from both of them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a very upsetting and awkward scene that I think that people would be reticent to write today. Like that's a great character.
That's an interesting. Yeah, a lot of stuff can't be written today.
No.
You wouldn't do
Even
that today.
it's crazy. But you're talking about 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
That you can't do that now.
No,
That's
a-
nuts.
No, dude.
That's
You
a
can't.
really beautiful.
That's
interesting
nuts, though. Culturally, that's nuts.
No, we've regressed in a lot of ways.
We're very worried about being judged because all we do all day is judge people, and we don't want to be. And this is what Everything Everywhere argues against. Like,
Sure.
And I think that this is as Caesar brought up. This is it's like the anti-doom scrolling movie. It is because I think the internet has done 99% incredible things for the world. But the one thing that we have to work out is that the business models we use with social media largely have turned us into incredibly untrusting, frightened creatures. And when we are innately social and want to share love, and we are actually terrified of each other all the time, that creates a profound amount of anxiety and distrust and self-hatred. And I think
Plus, you throw on COVID and everyone's locked up inside.
Yeah.
It just
like
is
you wonder why there's why suicides and anxiety have gone through the roof. It's because we do not trust each other in the slightest anymore at all. That's why. And it's because people are making money on it. And it doesn't mean it's going to be. It's like the internet is not evil, and it's not like that's the internet will only ever poison us. That's not true. Social media is done perfectly well in many different ways, but in the way in which it's popular, it's bad.
Not to go too deep, and Chris maybe saw it, that the Sergey Brin and the other guy, founders of Google, are coming back to Google because they're worried about chatbot GPT.
Yeah, I imagine.
Against
the
their
problem.
business
The
model.
problem with those, like, I don't know if you've seen some of those things, but like, if you go to ChatGPT and you ask it to do like what is 219 plus bliss and this, it actually gets the math wrong.
Oh yeah.
Yes, but the concept of it and the growth of it, you're talking about now.
But Google has these language models. They've had them far longer than ChatGPT, but they don't put them out there because it is wildly inaccurate. But it gives it with such confidence, so
Right.
they can't manage
2 plus
that.
2 is 5, gentlemen, as it always has been.
As it always has been, right? So they can't do that. Now, go ahead, Eric.
the point is that they're saying now a large 80% of like material and other things in 5 years is going to be written by AI. And the former founders of Google are really concerned that if they're not on that bandwagon, their whole model is going to collapse.
But that's already been happening, right? So like 75% of CNET. There was an article or in the Verge podcast, in the Vergecast that I just listened to today, like 75% of CNET is written by bots. Right? And he's like, for example, and they talked about it, it's like I highly recommend it. Just go to the Vergecast, listen to this week's episode of the Vergecast, and they're talking about it specifically with the fact that CNET was bought by a company that basically maximizes SEO, right? And so every day, CNET puts out the current mortgage rates, right? Because they know that people will search that, what's today's interest rates? And they want to have people click on the CNET article for them to get the ads, right? And no human being wants to put out what today's interest rates article is every day. So a bot does it for them every day, but it comes out all the time. So journalism, yes, journalism is going to be replaced by bots in a lot of ways. And so that's
even just technical stuff and a lot more. They're saying like 80% of content, if you can take, and so they're worried that like all their advertising models are going to collapse.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And the search, I got a new search engine called Yeoh. Have you ever seen that? I'll share it with everybody. It's pretty wild. And you can go, the search engine, AI search engine, you.com, YOU.com.
Okay, we got to get to Bullet Train real quick because I do have to cover that before we go.
We haven't even talked about Bullet Train.
I know.
Give Bullet Train the short shrift. Gotta get to business.
But Bullet Train is pretty much a heist movie.
Yeah, sure.
Call it a heist movie. Heist movie. And it's very entertaining in a lot of ways. It's the general story of basically, how to put it, starts off, it's in Japan, right? It is the Japanese bullet train that's taking place. A bunch of different characters end up on this bullet train and they all confront each other. Turns out they're all assassins or mercenaries of some kind. And they are all confronting each other in different ways.
Kind of like the A-Team.
Well, or Ocean's 11 was
Ocean's 11,
yeah. Right?
Meets Guy Ritchie,
Ritchie, yeah. And so there's two English characters that are
Gaspar
on there.
Noir. The lights on that were so Gaspar Noir. Like the kind of glowing Tokyo thing. It's beautiful.
There's two English characters on there that are named Lemon and Tangerine, that are a black guy and a white guy, that are called the twins as a thing, which is also obviously ironic because they look so different. They don't look anything like each other, but they're two English guys and they're very Guy Ritchie type characters. Can we say?
Yeah.
The black guy who's called Lemon loves Thomas the Tank Engine and which was kind of funny, right? He refers to every character that he runs into as a different character from Thomas, right? The worst being a diesel, like the diesels are the worst, right?
Right.
Which was kind of a funny process of that. But specifically, Brad Pitt is our main character who is last minute kind of guy. Like he was hired at the last minute to get on this train. And he is in an earpiece talking to his handler the whole time, who is a woman. And she refers to him as the ladybug. And she goes,
whose voice was that?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock, yeah.
she refers to him as Ladybug, and he's like, "Oh, because I'm so unlucky." He's like, "No, because you're saying that ironically because I'm so unlucky because Ladybugs are supposed to bring you luck because he's always got something bad happen to him that he feels like he's always unlucky, right?" But so that's the characters that are involved, and then you got two Japanese guys, a father whose son is in a hospital, and then his father who's also involved. And then you have this young Russian woman, shall we say? She doesn't seem Russian. She seems English. You don't find out that she's Russian until much later. But she always plays the super innocent girl and then uses that to her advantage to throw people off guard and then subdue them with her strength. Very funny as well. Very good. But all of this takes place inside of a bullet train with all kinds of crazy Japanese stuff happening the whole time.
Did they shoot that live action outside?
No.
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 Yeah. No.
Yeah. And what's funny, the thing that cracked me up about that bullet train thing is because, like, when you look at the scenery. So I've been on. How many of you guys been on a super high speed train? I've been like a TGV.
I've been on the bullet train.
Okay, you've been on the bullet train.
And the TGV, but I've been on the bullet train in Japan. Right.
I don't know if you've ever been on one, Daniel. They're fucking fast as hell, right? They're going 200 miles an hour, right? So when I was looking at that, I was looking at what's going on outside. It was moving too slow to be a bullet train.
Yeah.
Right? Just wasn't moving fast enough. And then on the footage, when you saw the train moving through a city, which, by the way, most of the time, the high-speed train is moving through the countryside, not through the city. When it's in the city, it's moving slowly because it's a fucking bullet train.
It's dangerous as hell.
Right? But then they show a shot of it as a bullet train moving very fast, going around a corner at high speed. If that train went around that corner at that speed, everyone would be thrown to the side of the train.
Yes.
The realism standards of this film
I agree
are
with you
extremely
on
low.
that.
It's like, it does not make, it's like a train doesn't go whooshoo around a corner like that. No, that's not how trains work, which would be hilarious. But anyway, it was still trying to take advantage of an anime style look and things that was going on.
Yeah, it's slick and reasonably fast paced plot. That's everything in the movie is like it's like everyone on the train is an assassin. Like it's a very narrow, but very,
it's a little John Wicky.
Yeah.
Totally. That's a very good point. That whole vibe
it's like comedy John Wick.
But it's it's funny. It is funny. Like there's a lot of good humor, a lot of good gags in this thing.
Yeah,
like I will give props to the comedy on this. It is funny.
Absolutely. And specifically to Brad Pitt, who is just fucking hilarious the entire time.
Yes.
Like he
stumbles onto shit all the time.
Yeah. Like this is one of the goofiest characters he's ever played, but he still pulls it together. Like he makes the whole thing work and it's very, very funny.
Well, he did one in True Romance where he's a total stoner.
Yeah, but that was 35 years ago now?
Yeah, long time ago. But it harked back for me. It harked back to like that. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, totally.
He took himself so seriously.
And so he's playing this very this assassin character. Well, like he's a criminal. He's not an assassin, but like he's a snatch and grab guy, right? And he's had to kill lots of people, all sorts of stuff. But he's recently been going through therapy and reading a lot of books on Zen, and so he doesn't want to get involved in any. He just wants to.
He doesn't like when he takes all of the things to go on the train. He doesn't take his gun because I doesn't want to. Guns are just
which is what makes the title ironic, right? And so his whole play is like he doesn't want to have conflict with people, yet everyone is constantly trying to murder him.
Right.
And it's amazing how long he is able to stretch that gag. Like it works remarkably well. The setups are really funny.
The wedding thing was hilarious.
Yeah, the wedding was just so
great.
funny.
They're cutting back and forwards in time to show people's backgrounds really quickly, like flashbacks to show.
And that's very Tarantino-ish in a lot of ways.
Right. And so like it's just like in Kill Bill, like you're saying, like when they tell you all of the anime backstory for the villain in Kill Bill. You know, like they do exactly the same thing here. And all of those backstories web together into what is essentially a single story So you have some small surprises along the way of how people connect. And it's very clever.
And
very clever,
lots and lots of cameos, like constant, right? Like
loads.
it was Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum, charming Tater, my favorite. Yeah,
and he shows up, and basically he's just a person on the train. At which point Brad Pitt comes up to him and is like, "Can you do me a favor?" He's like, "Is this a sex thing?"
It's hysterical. And he's like,
it's like, no, it's not a sex thing.
That guy's got a good walk.
And so Channing Tatum's got this whole gay vibe to him.
Yeah,
it's very, very funny. Very funny.
And also, like, Channing Tatum is in the other movie with Sandra Bullock, the one where he like it's the romance writer. It's a
which is basically Romancing the Stone.
Romancing the Stone. The book that I think it's Channing Tatum is reading a book, and it's the book that Sandra Bullock's character is reading from that movie. So it's that level of silliness, right? And like I would say, like, and it's got like awesome actors in this. Like the guy who plays Lemon is the dude from Atlanta who plays Paperboy, who's an incredible actor, and everyone is just like having a good time. So it's very
that's what it was.
Yeah,
that's Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11. Like
everyone's having a good time making this movie.
It's not a big effort movie, but
they had a lot of good craft services and they had a good time.
Yeah, and so like I would say that it's Brian Tyree Henry. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like like this is a very goodwill movie to me, and like it's a great like we don't need everything to be everything everywhere all at once all the time. Like it's perfectly reasonable to pay $20 to go see Bullet Train and then be like, cool, let's get pizza. Like that is part of a great night out.
Yep.
And I really, when I had a little bit of resistance going in because I was like, yeah, I love Brad Pitt, but the ad didn't look that great. And then it took maybe about 10 minutes to win me over. And then it won me over. Like I didn't have it wasn't without complaint, but I was like, yeah,
same.
I love it. It's fine.
Same. and then, but at the beginning I was looking at the effects and they're like, ugh, these are cheesy. They're bad, right? They're not good. Let me just put it this way. I'm no offense, but these are not high level. This isn't Avatar Weta level effect.
And
these are
we can say this without meaning to offend anybody, because I can definitely say I have worked on movies with great effects, and I have been a part of movies where I have worked on very terrible effect shots.
So have I.
And that's just the way it is.
And it's not necessarily any fault of the artist.
It's not the artist's fault at all.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
It's art direction.
Doesn't come together.
Art direction and budget. But this one partially is like part of the problem. I don't want to say problem. Part of the reason that the effects are not necessarily good is that they're totally over the top, right?
Yeah,
totally over the top.
Completely cartoon.
Which in a sense is like they need to be for this movie.
Right.
So at the same time, I'm like, I'm fine with it. You know, if I see one bullet train crashing into another bullet train at full speed with one going under the other and everyone still survives,
sure,
fine with it.
That's good. Like, I mean, I would say like what we can learn from Everything Everywhere, right, is that like they could have there's a better version of Bullet Train, which is a lot less expensive. Right.
Yes.
Right.
And smaller cast.
A smaller cast, tighter script, jankier effects. There are more like models and whatever.
I think they saved Bullet Train by just throwing a bunch of random actors in there. Listen, I don't. Again, don't want to. But we spoil everything. We spoil everything on this thing, so you're just gonna have to be ready. But Ryan Reynolds is in it for like 10 seconds.
10 seconds, exactly. Got Zazie Bates.
That's total. It's absolutely like.
It's love of Hollywood.
Mad World meets Ocean's 11.
Yeah,
and it's a total. Yeah. But that
Yeah, it's like fucking you get in Mad World you get like what's his name classic silent movie actor, what's his name the general
Chaplin?
Keaton. You get Keaton in there for a couple of seconds. You get like what you just go like Jack Benny. I love Jack Benny, and just like it's a celebration of that kind of fun, and that's totally good. I will say that. They all like doing this enough at the same level that it meshes more and more as a movie as it goes along.
Right.
Like I bought into the plot, I bought into everything, and the payoff, again, spoilers, of who the villain is what's his name? Michael he played Zod in the Superman movies. Great actor, wonderful actor.
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon also did a version of It's a Wonderful Life, or what was the Christmas movie he did? It was really interesting.
No.
Oh God! Come on, someone, Monkey Man's gonna know. Michael Shannon did a really interesting movie more recently. That was
he's a really legitimate.
Yeah, he's actor. He's a cool indie guy.
And he's and every now and again he shows up in some big cornball expensive Hollywood movie, and he really hams it up and has a good time. But he has a great time hamming it up.
Yeah,
and he plays a ham in this. It's hysterically funny.
He plays the ultra villain, right? And so the name, the guy,
as hell.
The guy you've been waiting for the whole movie is the person they're all. His name is White Death. He's like this.
Yes.
He's supposed to be this Russian, horrible assassin, terrible person, and it's played by Michael Shannon, and it's just like, mwah.
It is. He's unbelievably savory, silly lines, and it's just
right.
It's fun, and like especially going up agained Brad Pitt, where Brad Pitt's like
savory, silly lines.
Like, well, the other thing is
that's
like
a t-shirt right there.
What's funny is like Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is going in as a replacement assignment because the other assassin got a stomach bug.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Ryan Reynolds is the guy that Michael Shannon wants to kill. Doesn't know that Brad Pitt is not Ryan Reynolds.
And so he's like, "You're the so and so." He's like, "No, wait, that's not me. I'm the other guy."
What are you doing?
and it's this whole you're at the end of the movie and you're like, "Wait, what?" It's like, "No, that's not me." I was like, I was supposed to get off.
Listen, there's some books you should read and just process this a little bit. And like this dude is like giving this whole supervillain act, this Russian supervillain act, and Brad Pitt's like surfer dude. It's really really funny.
Well, he's got the goofy little the goofy little beach hat on too, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, it was such a genial, goofy movie that I was just like. This is the kind of shit that, like, I mean, like, it's like this is kind of what I wanted. What was the Gray Man to be? Netflix's movie, and the Gray Man. I think it was over criticized. I think a Gray Man is not a bad movie. I think it's a pretty entertaining movie, but nothing in the movie is working as well as Ryan Gosling. Like Ryan Gosling is doing the job. He understands the assignment, and the movie is around him is fucking hilarious. Like he is really doing it right, and the rest of the movie is just like trying to be James Bond, or it's like so strained. Then you see Bullet Train and you're just like, what if everyone gave a little bit less of a shit and we'll do a nice job?
There was a coolness about it.
Yes.
And ease.
Right.
The movie he did, the Christmas movie he did is called Potterville.
Oh yeah. I did not see that. But yeah, like Shannon's great.
And so that was, I would recommend. It's a good, interesting. It's definitely watchable. But he's done some amazing stuff. He was also played a show that people underrated. At Home with Amy Sedaris. He's on that one.
He's on that one. Yeah.
He's on that one.
He has a great minor role in Revolutionary Road. He plays the brother in Revolutionary. He's tremendous in that. Yeah, he's a really.
He also plays. He's also George Jones on George and Tammy.
Oh, and if Dave 3D were here, he would insist on me saying, shoot.
He's also in Knives Out, actually.
Yeah, he's in Knives Out. Hang on for 1 second. It's called. Oh shoot, what's it called? Michael Shannon.
He's in The Shape of Water.
Paranoia film. What's it called?
Paranoia film.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, what the fuck is it called? Yeah, Bug. With Ashley Judd, directed by William Friedkin, which is great.
Wow.
And the one that Dave one that Dave 3D would insist on is Take Shelter, which is a terrific movie. He's really, really wonderful with Jessica Chastain, I think. Really, really good indie movie. But yeah, he's a wonderful actor. And it's just like when he comes in there and he's just like, hang on, let me put my indie skills away. And I'm going to give you the ham sandwich.
Got some indie skills.
Like, here it is. It's the Subway 12-inch ham on whole wheat. Performance from Michael Shannon. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. So basically the premise of this film is that all these assassins are out there. they all sort of seem to be interlinked in some ways, and you find out their interconnection over time as they go through. And several of them are pretty hilarious. The one that I think that Eric and I both seem to love is the Mexican gangster.
That was really fun. Yeah,
that
really funny.
one is, and he dies so quickly, but you get his entire backstory that goes for so long, but he dies almost immediately when he gets on the train.
This is a good, clever part of the movie. It's like they give him this enormous backstory, and then which makes it surprising that he dies so fast. And you're like, why did they do that enormous backstory?
He was a waiter too.
Yeah, because and then the next thing you're like, oh, the backstory is actually the key thing.
The key,
that's actually the B plot of the entire movie.
Right.
And this guy just
so just to give you an idea of this story, which is hilarious. So like literally basically Brad Pitt reached his goal within 15 minutes of the movie, which is to pick up this briefcase, and he has to get off the train.
Leave.
And he can't, and he knows that. So there's one of the big key points of the movie is like there's only 1 minute at every station that the doors open, he can get in and out of the train, right? So he's at the door waiting. He's got the briefcase, which is what he's like, this can't be this easy. And he's like, that's this easy. Just got to get off the train and you're good. And so at the door that comes in is this Mexican guy wearing a white suit that looks at him. And
he loses his mind,
loses his mind, and stabs Brad Pitt immediately.
The phone, though.
Or doesn't stab him because he actually gets his phone. But you don't know this. All you see is a stab, and you think, oh, Brad Pitt's dead. And then you immediately go into the backstory of this character, right? And so you literally start with his childhood, about his father murdered and his mother and all this whole thing, and like gets involved with a gang. Like they do this whole montage.
Leads up to this wedding, and
like he's like in love with the woman at the bar, and they turn into a wedding, and it's like this wonderful wedding, and then suddenly
everyone at the wedding is poisoned except him.
Well, more Brad Pitt walked by him bumps him, and his drink got spilled. So
and so he's wearing a white suit. And bumps him, and the wine spills on his suit. And so he's rubbing the wine off, and then he turns around, and everyone is massively poisoned,
vomiting
blood, and blood coming out of their eyes from the poison, and they're all dying, including his wife. And so there's this horrible situation. And so that's his adventure. So he shows up at the bullet train wearing the same fucking white suit from his wedding with the same wine stain on it, which is hilarious.
Like he's a supervillain. Yeah, exactly.
He's like you're still wearing that suit. And then he sees Brad Pitt, who apparently in the backstory was at the wedding, who's the guy who bumped into him.
Right. And he was,
but not necessarily the guy who poisoned them. We find out later that it's another one of the assassins that poisoned.
And here's where, like, the one thing I really truly loved about this movie, and it sort of represents how the entire movie works, is that even the action in this movie is very sort of like low stakes. It's like lots of things are happening, and it's all really funny, but you're not really worried for anybody. It's just like fun action, right? But it's also extravagantly gory.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Kill Bill.
It's like it's ridiculously gory, and I love the tension between Brad Pitt's easygoing, soft comedy and these sort of like fun, slight action scenes and legs being chopped off and blood vomiting everywhere. I was just like, this is great. This is extremely silly.
Yeah.
So like the tone is really like the thing that makes the movie work outside of Brad Pitt is there's a consistency to the tone through the entire film that eventually I developed faith in. And once I had faith in it, I could relax into the goofballness of the entire thing. And then it was home free.
Well, the thing that, like, just to give perspective thing is that Lemon and Tangerine have an argument of how many people they killed to pick up the son of White Death.
Which was shot in Long Beach, because I watched that. I was like, wait a minute. That's not the Bay of Toke. It's just like...
Yeah, it's so good.
And so basically, like, they're like, we killed 16 people, no 17. And so they have this whole recap of how many people they killed to get this guy.
And it just has a counter.
It's a little counter on his side, like 1, 2, 3.
And they're
like,
talking to the camera.
They're talking 16. To the camera. It's like, that was 5 playing poker, 5, and then bam, 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 bam. And it's just crazy gore, heads chopped off, hooks through heads, like really ridiculous.
It's insanity. It's just, it's absolute comic book silliness. And I think that that's the thing. It's like, just like To Catch a Thief, like To Catch a Thief is not a great Hitchcock movie, but everybody in it is great, and Hitchcock's a great filmmaker. So it's a really, really highly watchable movie. Like, it doesn't really go anywhere, but it's really pretty and everyone's really likable. And so like this movie has the same effect where I'm just like, yeah, the plot's pretty thin, but at least it's there, and like everyone's committed to it. Yeah. And so by the end of the movie, like I was really pleasantly surprised at how neatly everything comes together into sort of like a single Zen statement. I was like, nice. Like this, like now it feels like it doesn't feel as random as it did in the beginning. It slowly weaves its joke together and then gets out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that's the thing is like in terms of the Hollywood model, like that used to be the standard. Like
it used to be the standard. You're absolutely right.
Like this, you'd be like there's a movie, one of my favorite buddy.
It also has an ending.
Yeah. It has a real ending.
It has a real ending. There's no cliffhanger as to what the fucking next show is or whatever.
People that die, and people that live, and the ending is, get the ending you want, and there it is. Yeah. It's complete, like, you don't need Bullet Train 2. Like, you have Bullet Train. It works fine. And, like, it's like in the 80s, that like, my favorite buddy cop movie of the 80s is not Lethal Weapon.
Turner and Hooch. That's
also very good. That's a surprisingly good movie.
Every Which Way But Loose?
No, which I also love. Not cops, but still love. Is Running Scared with Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines.
Yeah.
Which is an absolutely terrific Peter Hyams movie. And that's the kind of like, like, hey, we got a couple of really funny stars, on the beginning of their career. Let's just make a cop movie with them, see what happens.
What's the one with Gene Wilder and oh shit.
Oh yeah, I know the way you're. I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, I know the way you're.
Gene Wilder and
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor,
like Silver Streak and
one of them's
crazy, stir crazy.
One is them deaf and the other one's blind.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, like these are just you get the one gag and you go with it and you make a movie out of it, and it's fun. And like there's plenty of these movies which like I've seen a bazillion times. Like they're like
you know what I watched? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, Erica. I was going to say Stakeout. I just want to throw in Stakeout was the one you were trying to think of.
Stakeout. No, I watched Fletch the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And I was Fletch. That Fletch. Absolutely holds up.
Oh, Fletch is fucking hysterical. Plus, the plot of Fletch is great.
It's great, and there's a lot of people.
Great guy.
I hadn't seen it in years, and I could not stop laughing. I was like, wow, this really is.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
But she died so fast. She was suffering for a while, but when she died...
The final moments, yeah.
And what's his name? He was like, well, okay.
like Harry S. Truman. Harry S. Truman, just like the president. Yes, sir. Drop the big one. Drop two big ones. It's all ball bearings these days, boy.
Yeah.
I actually like Fletch 2 as well.
There's some good gags in Fletch 2. There's some funny stuff. It's like Fletch itself is perfect. I haven't seen the new John Hamm Fletch, which got like shaky reviews to start off with, but now I've met a lot of people who are like, if you're into like a really easy comedy, it's actually pretty great. Like
John Hamm?
John Hamm plays Fletch in Confess Fletch. I read the book Confess Fletch, and it's very good. And so I want to see the movie. But like that's the kind of thing, like these are the sort of like B-player movies that used to be all over the place in the 80s and 90s and whatnot. And they're thought of like now as classic movies that are incredibly rewatchable. And like I have no interest in watching a Marvel movie twice. Like there's maybe I like Doctor Strange. I watched that a couple of times. That was pretty good. But Running Scared I've seen like literally 60 times.
Do you think I think they probably set it up so you don't need to watch it twice because they're
going to make another one.
They're making enough money on the toys and stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's not
it's a TV
they
show.
Probably look at it as a product that, disposable like jeans.
And the thing is, man, like I would say I like more than half of the Marvel movies. I like them, and more than a third I love. So I'm not anti-Marvel by any stretch of the imagination, but the sort of production culture around Marvel is very disposable. And,
Caesar brought up Central Intelligence, which I also think is.
oh yeah, Central Intelligence. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
a couple of things. Okay, I want to bring up because that's actually a really good. There is something, and we mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast. There's something about Bullet Train that is very much a film that got made because of the pandemic. There's the situation of this. You have this confined space of this train that is obviously on a stage and in quarantine
Paper, it's
environment,
great.
right? And then you got all the LED walls doing whatever they're doing in the background and the lighting. And by the way, the amount of fake magic hour lighting is not, to me, honestly, like, I don't buy it. Like, if that's magic hour, then it's not believable. It's not believable magic hour at all.
Well, it's also like it was a strange color for me.
Yeah.
I was like, this looks kind of like greenish. Like, what is this? It's like orange. It's dirty
I know,
orange.
but I really think they were going for that Gaspar Noir thing where it's just like hyper realism. Of. It was definitely
For the most part, it totally works. Like I think that like I actually like the ending of the movie quite a bit, but like the lighting at the end of the movie is the wobbliest visual part of the movie.
Absolutely, because it's completely insane stuff that happened anyway. It's like totally over the top. But when Caesar said Central Intelligence, I agree. I thought Central Intelligence was hilarious there. But again, as a movie, they could not have made that during the pandemic. There's too much shit going on.
Too many things happening, too many places,
right?
yeah.
And so this movie is sort of positions itself in like this bubble.
It's very smart. Yeah, it's a very smart little
in
production.
terms of how to make this work. But at the same time, it feels like a bubble, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It feels like a play.
Almost. Yeah, it's an action play.
It's like an action play, right? Like it's like it's like, okay, you've got, and they literally say it is like you've got, 6 economy trains and 4, whatever it is, 10 economy trains and then 6 first class or whatever, right? So it's very much set up like this situation, and each car has
Death on the Nile kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, Death on the Nile was terrible.
Orient Express, yeah.
But the original one.
Murder on the Orient Express. The
original. Death on the Nile with Peter Ustinov. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, there's and there's also the great original Orient Express. And actually, I like the Brana Orient Express stuff. That was actually sort of surprisingly good to me. But the thing they did for the new Death on the Nile is like everything I've seen is like they may as well have just filmed most of that in front of a television set with pictures of sunsets. Like it was just like this looks unacceptable for a Hollywood production. Like this looks like a weird. Like it looks so fake. It feels like a run through rather than a movie. And it definitely, like, some of the effects felt like previs. I hate to say it that way, but sure.
Yeah.
But in any case, like with Bullet Train, like they develop a good look, and it's a very smart bit of production because they imagined like, what can we shoot during the pandemic? We have 2 train sets. Let's do it that way. It's gonna be easy. And
that's pretty much probably what happened.
Yeah. And like that's like they will spend the money on the stars, and it's gonna be fine. And like I think that the
stars didn't have anything to do. It's like just show up on set and do this 5 scenes.
Wear a hat,
done.
No big deal. And there's
a lot of cameos in this thing.
Like I wish that they would learn a lesson from that model. And like you don't have to wait to the pandemic to make something like this. Like you don't have to be forced into this position. Like you can still make a good movie. In fact, like the limitations are probably what made you make a good movie out of it.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so I think that there's like and like they have incentive to learn that, because Bullet Train, like I said, when the first weekend came out, it was kind of a soft opening, and everyone's like, "Wow, it's a bomb for Brad Pitt." But then it kept playing and playing and playing and playing and playing. And like there's no competition, sure, but like it's the kind of movie that people are like, yeah, I'd see that again, and I can totally imagine watching that again. Like if that's on TNT, I'm like, yeah, fine, that's on. I like Bullet Train, and like that's the kind of thing. If you have a whole backlog of that stuff, that's what everyone's fighting over now. When we were bringing up like these movies are available and these movies aren't available anymore, those movies are Bullet Train kinds of movies. Like that's all the one-shot single studio programmers that we've all watched 100 times. You know, and like that's when you have that as your backbone, you can turn it over and over and over forever. But studios have foregone that, chasing the Marvel bucks, and it's totally destroyed their entire infrastructure in terms of delivering content that people want to re-experience. And once they're tired of superheroes, they no longer are used to going to theaters. So they've really fucked it up. You know, and
weird time.
Yeah, well, it's like in the Atlantic.
The theater model,
like,
the Atlantic article. You saw the Atlantic article I put up there. It's like, what the fuck am I doing in the movie theater?
When was the Atlantic article? When was it?
I just put it up today. Just go to our Discord and go to our random links, and I put it up there.
Yeah,
I'm not being angry. I'm just saying
it's a great point, though.
I'm encouraging everyone to go to our Discord.
Like in movies, like the basic business of making movies doesn't work without movie theaters. like
well, that's the title of the article. It says Hollywood cannot survive without movie theaters, and that's true. The current Hollywood we have,
it's going to die. Like it will die chasing that model. And the thing is, like there are plenty of great streaming has all sorts of great new ways to make movies, you know, like because you can make things longer, you can make all this great new stuff, but you're still missing that, like the bullet train level movie still doesn't fit in Netflix. Like they tried to make that movie and nobody watches that movie, you know, like it's like these like mid-level Hollywood style things. Like you can either make an 8-episode or 10-episode show, you know, in which they invest a shitload of money, or you can make a $200 million Chris Pratt film.
They just roll the dice like that.
But like you're not going to see an awful lot of 2-hour-long dramas with Meryl Streep. Like Silkwood is not something we're going to make for Netflix.
She's coming to Only Murders in the
Only Murders, yeah, which I'm very excited about. But like, and I love stuff like Only Murders, but like good, straightforward, simple, short story film, 2 hours long, $30 million with a couple of great stars is still incredibly hard sell anywhere in streaming. Like you want it either a full show or it's giant budget. But this kind of stuff.
You said something like the other day about like the colorization of Netflix films are all this uniform look, and I'm like, God, that is such a sad state of affairs if they're doing that.
Gross, man. It's like looks bad.
That's the step towards death.
Yeah, that is
and
truly ugly.
I didn't put my, I wasn't aware totally, but I know there's that Netflix look. But when you stop and step back, you're like, God, that's horrible,
hideous. Like,
but that's where they're going.
Yeah, they want everything to look the same so they can manage it. Like it's just a production management issue to them. And like, I mean, like it's like it's quite obvious that you can shoot great looking stuff for streaming. There's loads of great looking streaming. But Netflix, if they have the option to force you to shoot in a certain look, they will do it. You know, you have to be Alfonso Cuarón before you can get out of that loophole. Yeah, it's really, really ugly. And like that's the thing is like it does a couple of bad things. It squelches visual innovation, and the model of not having small investment star packages actually destroys movie stars. And like having actors that you're like, oh, I would definitely see whatever Meryl Streep in the movie about like Cry in the Dark. Like Cry in the Dark doesn't get made for Netflix. French with Tense Woman doesn't get made for Netflix. Except as a 10-hour mega piece.
But does that even get made anymore?
That's what I'm saying is like they've totally destroyed that as a model, and I think that's where some of the best movies exist. Because like if you like the problem with much long form streaming, I'm very happy that you can make a 10-hour movie, but most movies don't need to be 10 hours long in order to make their point. So most stuff I see is 3 or 4 hours too long, where it's a lot of wheel spinning. Even good stuff like what's it? HBO's Detective. Was it blah 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 with Woody Harrelson and
True Detective.
True Detective.
Yeah.
True Detective. Like True Detective season 1, I agree, has loads of great filmmaking in it and great character stuff. That is way too fucking long. Like
Yeah.
that should be
That's right. Yeah.
like that should be Silence of the Lambs. In which case it would be a 2 hours and a classic. Instead, I'm just like, I'm not gonna fucking watch this again. Like, I'll see scenes, but I'm not gonna watch it again.
Yeah, it's not watchable. It's not rewatchable.
It's not rewatchable.
Okay. Listen, I got to get going, unfortunately, because I got some obligations in front of me. But this was great. Sorry we had to do it on a Friday instead of Saturday, but we still had lots. We still had lots of viewers, so I'm excited that
thank
you guys were able to
Monkey
come.
Man, Caesar,
And a whole bunch of others people. So
awesome.
I really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out our Discord, where you can see the link to the Atlantic article, which I highly recommend. And besides that, don't forget to join us next Saturday. We'll probably be doing a watch party, and make sure to follow martinigiant.com for any other information that's going on. All right, you guys ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Do it.
Drink.
Talk.
Drink.